Welcome back to the final deadline stream of the calendar year for Gameweek 19 in Fantasy Premier League. And I've only got one free transfer, no chips remaining for the first half of the campaign. If you have any remaining boosters, make sure to use them now before the deadline, which is in 1 hour and 50 minutes time, because then we enter the second half of the campaign, and that's where we all have the free hit, wildcard, bench boost and triple captain at our disposal once again. I did cover the best time to use all of those chips, not only for the first half of the season, but also for the remainder of the campaign in that chip strategy video, and there's plenty more content also headed your way for both FPL and UCL Fantasy in the new calendar year. And thanks very much for all the support, even for the Club World Cup in the summer, for the Champions League and FPL, of course, in recent years, the Euros, the World Cup, and even F1 Fantasy at one point. So all your support is genuinely appreciated, and we are closing in on a new big goal of 38k on YouTube in terms of subscribers. So if you haven't done so already, consider doing so. Drop a like on the video. Also hit the hype button, which is a new feature on the YouTube app. There's also my Discord server, Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. All those links can be found in the description. Join my FPL and FPL Challenge Leagues. I'll be locking in those squads in today's stream and providing big news, and that includes Declan Rice. Unfortunately, it's not a good one for Arsenal. It looks like Declan Rice will be unavailable in Gameweek 19, so I might have to change my prediction, because originally I went for an Arsenal win, but I am less confident about that now. But more on that later with the top 10 captains, clean sheet odds, you name it. But the best way to start this actually is with Paredes, who has done a phenomenal job on the channel, gifting 50 memberships the other day, and he has only done even more now with 5 new memberships. So a big up to Paredes and to all the new members here. That includes Poppy, also Marius, Nathan J, MacB, and Nostradamus without the O. So big up to you 5, and Paredes is the one to thank there. You'll get early access to my videos, proud to comments, and many other perks. Yesterday I did a triple upload for Fantasy Premier League, so you're well prepared for this deadline and the rest of the season. So I'm always here doing the content and making sure that you have all the graphics, data, and observations you need to make informed decisions. And of course, we get even more updates in this stream as well, like the Declan Rice one, and there could be 1 or 2 more twists and turns before the deadline fully locks in. FPL Kevin says, hey bro, bench one of Gordon, Burnley away, Semenyo, Tarkovsky, or Szoboszlai. Actually leaning towards Gordon, as is a minutes risk. Barnes could get the nod. Any thoughts? I get why you're thinking that, and it's perfectly understandable, but it's a tough one. I would lean towards Tarkovsky on the bench out of those 4, but it's a very difficult situation because all of them have the capability of a massive return. Even Tarkovsky, if he gets a clean sheet and DEFCON, you could be looking at a monster haul, and if you add a goal on top of that, of course, it's a different story entirely. But yeah, I understand why you're a bit reluctant about Gordon, and we could see reduced minutes, but I think I'd bench Tarkovsky here, and you'll see my scoreline predictions later. That will kind of reinforce why I think that's the case. Good to see you gone home. Salute Dylan. Play Klein or Van der Ven? Well, Klein let me down big time last week, but I think I'd start Klein still and just hope he gets 60 plus minutes. Play Anderson or Minter? I'd play Minter. He played very well against Arsenal as a substitute, and I think his ceiling is a bit higher this week, but I won't lie to you. Going into Gameweek 15, when he faced West Ham as well, he was a massive disappointment, and I bought him in for a sort of 1 week punt before I wildcarded, and the player I sold in die outperformed him. But I just think Minter is the better pick this week. At least his ceiling will be substantially higher. Easy says, last Gameweek of the first round and last Gameweek of 2025. What are your memories in 2025 for FPL? I'd have to think about that, to be honest with you, but Club World Cup Fantasy, the thing that stands out the most was that phantom deadline back in June. So that was definitely a highlight. But for FPL, I can say UCL Fantasy buying Fermin Lopez literally just a minute before the deadline locked in, and he scored a hat-trick. That's one of my best ever transfers. And I just think with FPL, I guess getting Foden in early, that has been one of the standouts, and it resulted in a lot of progress, particularly in November. So that would stand out, I guess. But I won't lie to you, I'm not exactly happy that a C player is doing that well and helping them win games and, you know, close the gap on Arsenal. But from an FPL perspective, I think that kind of stands out in recent months, but I have to think about it for the entire calendar year. Hey Dylan, currently on free hit and currently debating between few players. Which pair is the best, Alisson and Hall or Ramsdale / Pope and Frimpong? I'd go for Alisson and Hall, but I don't like Alisson long term, and I've been very consistent on that. In the midfield, which three of Gordon, Barnes, Foden, Cherki, Neto, Palmer, Trossard? Well, long term, it's going to be one of Foden or Cherki, and based on recent form, I think Cherki would be the preference. I'd still go for Palmer personally. As for the third one, probably Anthony Gordon, but there's not much in it. And with him, as Kevy rightfully pointed out, there is the sort of element of rotation risk there. Is it just me? I've signed into the app multiple times and failed, and when going to Chrome instead to log in. I rarely use the app, to be honest, but whenever I've gone on it, it does work, and I don't get signed out as often as I did in pre-season. That's where it was a constant issue. I kept getting logged out on the website and the app. I think it's a bit better now, but yeah, I think this season the website had quite a few issues with the UI and just the general experience, really. For the goalkeeper position, I don't mind. Have two Newcastle goalkeepers just in case any of them starts. I think that's too much money in that position, but I get it. You're covering one of the best defenses in the country that way, so it makes sense. But yeah, I'd rather go for Rufs or Sanchez and then Dubravka, and you save money in the process. But that's just my opinion on it. Thanks for the super chat to Paredes, who has already done an outstanding job on the channel. Kelleher, Van Dijk, O'Reilly, Timber, Saka, Rice, Foden, Wirtz, Haaland, Thiago, Raul, bench, Dubravka, Miley, Alderete, Mukiele with 0.2 in the bank and 4 free transfers. Can do Rice to Cunha and Raul to Obi. Other moves? Yeah, I get that. And you can just keep Obi as a third option on the bench. 8th attacker, you're never going to play. Yeah, I think Rice to Cunha makes sense with the circumstances. It looks like the Arsenal midfielder will miss out. So that looks pretty solid. You don't need to use your other 2 free transfers, though, in my opinion, especially this week. Your defensive line looks good, assuming Timber is available, which hopefully he is. Otherwise, Arsenal are really in the mud today. But I understand why you might be tempted to make a defender move, because your backup options are Alderete and Mukiele. I'd probably sell one of those two. Mukiele is my preference, but he does cost 0.2 million more. And I do prefer structure where you have more money invested in the defensive line. So instead of having 2 4 million defenders per se, you can have someone at least mid-priced. And that could be Michael Keane, for example. So if you can afford that, Alderete to Michael Keane, I think that's a good transfer for the next month or so. And if Branthwaite is out for even longer, then Keane will remain a decent FPL choice. But you don't need to use all 4 transfers at the same time. Thank you as well to Anish for the super chat. Always a pleasure seeing you here. Hey Dylan, Rufs, Van Dijk, Gabriel, Dorgu, Wilson, Foden, Saka, Cunha, Gordon, Ekitike, Haaland, with Dubravka, Chalobah, Anderson and Guiu on the bench. Any thoughts? Yeah, I think Gabriel will start. Dorgu looks good for the next 3 game weeks. I'm not a massive fan of him in the long term though, but he was highlighted in the Transfers video as a budget pick. Rufs isn't great this week. I'd start Dubravka over him. That'd be my preference there. As for the rest of your team, it looks decent for now, but something to maybe consider. I think Gordon and Wilson would be a bit insecure in the long term, but I think for the next couple of weeks you can keep them, especially Gordon, who faces Burnley away now. If we start to see rotation between him and Barnes, though, I would rethink that choice and maybe move from Anthony Gordon. But yeah, for this week, start Dubravka over Rufs. And I think for now, you could make do with what you have. Let me know in a non-super chat how much money you've got in the bank and how many free transfers you have, because that also plays a part. If you've only got 2 free transfers or less, then I'd definitely roll this week. But if you have a sort of luxurious position, you've got 4 or 5 free transfers, then it's a different story. And I think that also would change things a little bit. But I think right now it's good to roll. Well, Rice sustained an injury against Brighton. I'll show you the update that I saw on Twitter, but it's not looking good there. I bought in Palmer this week. Plan was 21 or 24, but decided to take the risk and bring him in early. It's not a bad time to buy him in, facing a Bournemouth side without a win in 9 matches, and Cole Palmer has shown signs in the last couple of games. He had a good shot against Aston Villa just wide, and a few decent moments against the likes of Everton recently, so I think Palmer makes sense. I'd rather go for Saka at the moment, but I think this week Palmer will maybe not, to be fair. And in my Camsy rankings, I do have them at different ends of the spectrum. But I also think with Cole Palmer, his minutes are a big concern right now because he's just coming off the back of an injury. But once that starts to secure a little bit more, that's where Palmer becomes one of the most enticing options in the midfield. Good to see you, Wally. Always a pleasure. Keane for Senesi or Wilson for Bruno Guimaraes? I'd rather buy Keane for Senesi. I think that's the bigger upgrade right now. John on free hit. Not a bad shout. And Nottingham Forest are in the top 6 for the clean sheet odds, facing your team, of course, Everton. But I'd only have him as a backup, I think. In terms of main goalkeepers, Lamens is probably the best one on paper. Aggressive move since main team seems like what to do, double or triple on for free hit. Okay, so I will show you my free hit squad later on, and I think that will answer your question in turn. And in my wildcard video yesterday, not only did I show a wildcard squad, but also the best free hit team for Gameweek 19. So I think that will answer your question in due course. Ahmed, good to see you. Hi, Dylan. Merry Christmas. The same goes to you, I should say. And another team for my brother, Raya, Gay, Lewis Potter, Dorgu, Semenyo, Cunha, Shada, Foden, Mateta, Thiago, Haaland, Verbruggen, Rodgers, Mukiele, Goodmanson. Who to play? It's always difficult benching Rodgers, but it does make sense this week. Without Rice, though, I think that makes a Villa asset like Rodgers more appealing. Ultimately, I think you've structured things right, and I don't think I'd change much. I think that's exactly how I'd order it. Now, when it comes to the captaincy, I think Haaland would still be the preference, but you might be tempted by Matheus Cunha. But in terms of your starting 11 and bench order, it's exactly what I would do. Time to be crazy, Dallo captain. That is very crazy indeed, but sometimes craziness is rewarded, you could say. Yeah, exactly that, Paredes. Rice is out, it looks like, according to the reports. Hi, Dylan. Merry Christmas. So my team is Raya, Keane, Dallo, Cucurella, Semenyo, Wilson, Rice, Cherki, Ekitike, Thiago, Haaland, Dubravka, Gay, O'Reilly, and Tavernier. Yeah, that is a more difficult benching dilemma. Even Tavernier could do well against Chelsea, but I would probably start O'Reilly over Cucurella. I still think Bournemouth could score. And of course, Cucurella is yellow flagged anyway. He might not even start, to be fair. But I'd understand if you want to prioritise Gay over O'Reilly. That makes sense. But Palace are also winless in 5 matches. And I do see City winning quite comfortably against Sunderland. I mean, my prediction is 2-0 there. So I'd start O'Reilly, but with the rest, I also agree with how you've ordered things. Welcome to Heated Gaming 23. And also thanks to Awali and the other moderators for dealing with any spamming. I appreciate it. And the week of injuries continues. Yes, and it's not really an injury I want, even though FPL-wise it does benefit me in a way, but not if people get the right replacements in for Rice. Did Saka to Cunha hopefully works out? And would you captain Cunha over Haaland? I don't think I'd captain Cunha over Haaland, which I talked about in the triple upload yesterday. Cunha is 3rd in my Campsy list. Haaland is top. Now, I don't think he's a clear standout like he would have been against West Ham in Gameweek 17, but yeah, I would back Haaland to score against Sunderland. Thank you, Harrison James. The same goes to you. Hey, Dylan, hope the holidays and end of year have treated you well. Thoughts on Foden to Cunha? And then Wilson/Minter to Cherki next week. Despite how impressive Minter was against Arsenal as a substitute, I'd rather have Wilson in the long term, despite Fulham having some tough fixtures as well. Foden to Cunha is interesting. I'm not entirely sold on this, and I do back Foden to do well over the next couple of weeks, and he is facing Sunderland, who he got 12 points against back in Gameweek 15, so I'm not in a rush to sell Foden, but I think ownership bias does play a big part. I bought Foden in quite early, so I'm a bit more patient with him than others would be. But look, Cunha is a good transfer in. I got him in last week. A bit disappointing, but I think Wolves at home will be the main appeal coming up next. So I get it. I'm more keen on Minter to Cherki, though, overall. Hey, Dylan, thinking of bench boost with following transfers. Lacroix to Keane, Rodon to Dorgu, Bruno to Minter, and DCL to Ekitike, with Timber being flagged. I still think Timber will start, but he wasn't pictured in training yesterday alongside Rice and Calafiori. So I'm a bit less confident of Timber starting now, but I'm still including him in my predicted 11, which you'll also see in a couple of minutes. But it's a good bench boost and solid transfers in general. I think Laquata Keane is currently an upgrade. Rodon to Dorgu is certainly an upgrade over the next three. And yeah, Minter could be a decent differential midfielder, but I'll be honest, I'd rather have Bruno Guimaraes. I would have said Declan Rice, but of course he's injured. And a lot of different midfielders I've talked about in my recent wildcard and Transtips podcasts. As for DCL to Ekitike, that's interesting. I think Ekitike is the better pick, but Calvert-Lewin has scored in 6 successive games, and he's playing really well at the moment. Even the touches and the control is looking really impressive right now. So difficult to sell a player in that kind of form, but I think Ekitike is still the better pick, so I get it. If Semenyo goes to City, do you think he's worth keeping? Yes, but he is less appealing because he wouldn't be as talismanic for City as he is for Bournemouth right now. So he's a better FPL asset whilst at Bournemouth, but this might be his last game in a Cherries shirt. So 1 million in the bank, 1 free transfer left, 1.2. Okay, 1.2. Yeah, I'd roll. I think rolling is definitely best in your situation with only 1 free transfer, but in terms of future moves, that's where I think Gordon could come into play, for example. I think a few picks like Cunha and Dorgu are arguably too short-term, especially Dorgu, but because he's so cheap, you can just keep him as your 5th defender. So you're in a good position right now. I just don't think you need to make that transfer. That's the way I look at it, and I'm in a similar predicament with only 1 available move, and you've got to be very careful at this time of year to not be too aggressive like I've been over the past couple of weeks. Do you think Mukiele is worth the extra 0.2 of Alderete? Yeah, I think so. But you never know, right? In a couple of weeks' time, that extra 0.2 could be crucial in determining whether you can afford a certain player or not. But assuming that money will be no issue for you, I'd rather have Mukiele. Rumours that Keane is also out. What the hell is happening here, man? I'll have a look at that. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. But if anyone does see a link on Twitter or wherever you saw the source, then be sure to let me know. I saw one tweet here. Keane and Grealish doubts. Alcaraz is out. Oh dear. I'm not sure how reliable this page is though. But yeah, that doesn't sound good for Everton. And all 3 of those players were in my predicted 11 for the Toffees. Up the Toffees! But yeah, I'm still looking on Twitter to see where Michael Keane is. I was actually considering buying him. But yeah, I don't see a reliable source indicating that he's out. So I'd still take that with a pinch of salt, personally. But maybe there is some truth to it. Which team will frustrate you to let you get points from players I have against them? I'll be honest, I'm not sure if I fully understand the question, but when I just saw the first couple of words, which team will frustrate you, I was going to say Aston Villa. I can see them pissing me off again tonight, as they have done for the last couple of years, but maybe, if I understand your question correctly, maybe Wolves, because I've captained certain players against them and it hasn't really paid off. And now that I'm kind of settled on captaining Haaland instead of Cunha, if Cunha ends up hauling massively, then that could annoy me per se, but maybe I didn't understand what you were saying. Sup, Dylan? Hope you had a nice Christmas. Likewise, Sonny. Thank you very much. Would you start Harry Wilson or Nketiah? I'd start Harry Wilson, but for what it's worth, I think Nketiah will start. With Semenyo potentially going out in January, how will it affect our FPL teams, especially if people still own him? Well, he'll be less talismanic. I think he's a better asset at Bournemouth because he's on penalties. He's also going to have the bulk of the big chances. At City, he'll have a lot of supply, but it won't be the exact same. He might also need to adapt. I know it's still the Premier League, but we've seen a few examples this season, like Alexander Isak, where he has been scoring 20-plus goals in the last couple of seasons, and yet for Liverpool, he couldn't hit a barn door in most matches. Is Rice a sell? It looks like it. For him to miss a game as huge as Villa at home, I wouldn't be surprised if he also missed the Bournemouth game in Gameweek 20 as well. So at the moment, I'd say Rice is a sell based on the information we have. My free hit, John, Heaven, Dorgu, Hall, Wirtz, Palmer, Cunha, Foden, Haaland, Ekitike, Voltemada. Looks solid. I understand the Voltemada pick and having double Newcastle in this case. So no midfielder, but you've gone for Voltemada up front. I'm quite happy with it overall, but Yeah, double United defense of Heaven and Dorgu. If you can afford it, I'd go for Dalot over Heaven. I think Dalot has a higher ceiling because of bonus points and attacking threat. He's got 1 goal and 4 assists this season, so I think Dalot is the best United defender long term. But as a 5th defender, budget pick, Dorgu is absolutely fine, especially if he plays further forward like he did against Newcastle. Thoughts on Voltemada this week? Is he a good shout? Yeah, he's a decent shout. I wouldn't be that enthralled about him. Enthralled? I'm making up my own words now. The thing is with Voltemada, he is strong in home matches. And apart from that Chelsea game, he typically gets, let's say, 6 to 9 points when he does return, which is good. But he's not really like a standout pick. So when it comes to the free hit or captaining him, I'm not that bullish. But as a pick in isolation, he's fine. And against Burnley away, I backed Newcastle to win. But it might be lower scoring than people expect. I've actually gone for a 1-0, if I'm not mistaken. You'll see my scoreline predictions very soon. 2 free transfers, Enzo to Minter, to allow me to do Rice to Cunha. Yes, I would. Do you think Semenyo will start with a possible transfer to City coming soon? Well, the reports indicate that he will play against Chelsea, but after that, his future remains, well, very unclear from a Bournemouth perspective in terms of will he play again for the club, because that isn't a guarantee. Do you think Schade would return again? Against Tottenham, it's possible, but he's not going to get a hat-trick. I mean, if he ends up doing it, then fair play, but I don't think that'll be the case. Not against Tottenham, but I'd say over the next 3 or 4 game weeks, I'd back him to get a return in one of those matches, and it could be a big one, but I think he's quite inconsistent, and you could see him blank in 5 successive games, for example. Go with 2 Arsenal defenders in Raya and Timber, or go with Tete over Timber. Double Arsenal defence. Now, just to make it clear, by the way, this would be a long-term sort of decision. When it comes to organising your team right now, well, I think Villa will score against Arsenal, but I also think Palace and Fulham will be a tough game as well to call. But yeah, I think Palace will score in this game. So not a clean sheet for either Fulham or Arsenal. I'd probably stick with the Timber and Raya combination, but it's not looking good for the Gunners with Declan Rice missing out. Okay, so I'll answer the rest of the questions and messages in order of submission, but what I'm going to do first is go through member questions, and then I'm going to show you different graphics and data so you're well prepared for Gameweek 19, and some of those will also answer your questions in turn. So Keith says, hey Dylan, hope you're enjoying the last of the festive season. The same goes to you, mate. Please tell me Timber's going to start. I can't guarantee it, but I was quite bullish about Timber starting over the last couple of days. He wasn't spotted in training yesterday in the images, just like Rice, who reportedly will miss out, and Calafiori. So if all 3 of them are unavailable, yeah, you don't need me to spell out how much in trouble Arsenal are against Villa tonight. But yeah, I think Timber will start still. I'm just less confident now than I would have been a couple of days ago. Yeah, Rice is out. They are reliable sources that indicated this. I think Gunner Blog was the one to break out the news, but I will double check that. Thank you, Pratik. The same goes to you. Hey, Dylan, hope you had a lovely festive period. I'm going to free hit this game week. What are the best defenders and goalkeeper to have? I'm going to go through this very soon. So I'm not going to ignore your question. I'm literally going to answer it in a few minutes' time, but kind of go through it in the usual order, starting with the FDR. So I think that's the best place to kick things off. So Newcastle are top until Gameweek 24. Tottenham Hotspur are second, with Everton, West Ham and Man United completing the top 5. The likes of Liverpool and Man City are not too far behind either. But when it comes to the bottom 5, Bournemouth, Leeds, Fulham, Arsenal and Wolves. With predicted points in the same time frame until Gameweek 24, Haaland is top. Saka, Cunha, Foden, Rice, who is now reportedly going to miss the Villa game, they are making up the top 5, with Semenyo, Ekitike, Palmer, Gabriel and O'Reilly completing the top 10. With projected price changes, we could see Lewis Hall, Declan Rice. I'm not sure about that now, big man. But yeah, he was supposed to go up in price. He might still do, to be fair, but I think some will sell him, which will push the projection down a little bit, and it could be below the 100% threshold, which is needed to see a price increase. So Lewis Hall, Mark Gay, Calvert-Lewin, Gvardiol, Verbruggen, Cunha and Alderete could all rise tonight. As for price falls, we could see Cucurella, Mateta, Dango Ouattara, Hincapié, Saka, and a few other players here fall in price. Jadon Anthony, Barnes from Burnley, Yeah, not too many of significant FPL interest. And not all of these will happen, but they're saying Trafford as well, Yoro, Fair Lopez, Mosquera from Arsenal, Wanyeri, Raul Jimenez, despite returns in back-to-back game weeks. Yeah, and a few more where that came from. Isidore is another one who started quite well, but he has been disappointing and not even starting for Sunderland in recent matches. I also put a poll out on my channel, and this was about some of my final transfer plans. Even Chow/Lewis Hall would be involved in this debate, and I will put out a poll in this stream very soon. But Timber to Gabriel is the leading vote, with Dorgu in for Cash in second, and Keane replacing Cash is last. So this is what I was referring to. Declan Rice is expected to miss Arsenal's match against Aston Villa tonight. Rice picked up a knee issue during the win over Brighton on Saturday, but was able to play on and remain hopeful of being fit to play tonight, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So these are the updates we got on Calafiori and Timber a couple of days ago, which I talked about in the reaction stream recently. So on Calafiori, Arteta said it was something they felt yesterday, something very awkward that happened. Today in the warm-up, he wasn't comfortable. And on Timber, apparently landed awkwardly. And of course, with Calafiori, he was originally in the lineup, but he was taken out and replaced by Lewis Skelly following that sort of discomfort in the warm-up. And this was an update from today. So Timber and Calafiori were not pictured in Arsenal training, but it was done intentionally and does not mean they weren't present. So that's pretty much what I referred to as well earlier. And I think this was from yesterday, actually. And this is another one. Calafiori felt something during the warm-up, but likely fit for Villa. And Timber picked up an injury after landing awkwardly against Brighton, likely fit for Villa. But yeah, we'll wait and see if that ends up being the case. I'm also going to compare the stats of two United defenders in Dorgu and Dalot. Long term, I think Dalot is the better pick. If money is no issue, I would pick the Portuguese right wing-back/right back. And Dorgu is playing in a more advanced position right now. He costs 4.2 million. He could be the sort of perfect fifth defender and enabler, especially for those wildcarding, and you might want to replace Alderete or Mukiele. So I think Dorgu looks more appealing in the short term. But if you look at their stats in general, Dalot has 1 goal and 4 assists. Also more minutes played and starts, but Dorgu has 2 assists, and okay, they've eliminated his goal, big man. What happened there? He should have 1 goal, obviously. Dorgu did score the winner against Newcastle. Oh, I think... I see what's happened here. It's only showing until Gameweek 17. So let me just refresh that. Now this should work. Okay, so let me re-input this. So yeah, you will see his goal there, and the updated stats. Lovely jubbly. So just give this a few seconds to load. And there you go. So Dorgu, 1 goal, 2 assists. Dalot has 1 goal and 5 assists. In terms of shots, identical. Even shots on target, the exact same. Shots inside the box, Dorgu does lead. And with the XG, it's also very similar, but Dalot narrowly is ahead. And with expected assists, both of them have over 1. 1 big chance for Dorgu, and 3 for Dalot, and 3 big chance created for the Danish left wing back, and 2 for Diogo Dalot. With key passes as well, pretty much neck and neck, but I just think Dalot has a higher baseline bonus points, and he's also more nailed on in that United team. He can play on both flanks, which to be fair, so can Dorgu, but we saw a lot of inconsistency when it came to the minutes from Patrick Dorgu, and this could be a big issue in the long term, particularly after the African Cup of Nations and the likes of Amad Diallo and Mazraoui are available. So, people asked about the free hit and the wildcard. This is the sort of updated wildcard squad. Because of the price changes that happened recently, I've made an adjustment and sold Virgil van Dijk to Chow, and O'Reilly is still in the 15-man squad, so that allows a lot of people to afford this team, but it won't be the case for everybody watching. You might need to make another downgrade elsewhere, and that could be Mukiele to Alderete to get an extra 0.2 million as one prime example. In goal, there's also Ruffs, Raya, and Pickford, but of course, the last 2 are more expensive. I think Dubravka is still fine as your backup, but some people are rightfully putting out John, who has been quite impressive for Nottingham Forest recently. I think instead of Chow, Lewis Hall is also looking quite promising, but in terms of points per game, it's still very low, and we haven't seen him reach the heights of last season before his injury, which happened around this time of year. But Michael Keane, there are reports of him reportedly missing out. I'm not sure how reliable they are, but assuming that he's fit and available, I would include him. And yes, this is the main change I need to make now, with Declan Rice missing the Aston Villa game. So he would have to be sold. And this is where things get very interesting, because I think most of the options I'm interested in are more expensive. I think at his price and below, he was by far the standout. Now it's a little bit more difficult. You could maybe stretch to Antoine Semenyo. That is a possibility. But of course, he's linked with Man City. This could be his last game for Bournemouth, of course, against Chelsea away. But that would be another consideration. And that's where Alderete could come in for Michele, and I would be 0.1 million off. And in order to make that possible, and to be honest, another option I'd be quite interested in is Dorgu, even just now. So have Dorgu in there. You could even bench Gabriel feasibly against Aston Villa. And you would have a benching headache here between Calvert-Lewin and Semenyo. That's the way I would look at it. But yeah, 0.3 million over. That's something I'd need to address. And I think Semenyo would be the one to make way then. I think Rice would have been a very solid choice here at 7.4. You could also go for Rodgers. I think long-term that looks pretty good. And then you start one of Rodgers or Calvert-Lewin. So that could also work fairly well. And of course, instead of Gabriel, there is Jurien Timber, who is 0.1 million more expensive, and he's yellow flagged. Piero Hincapié short-term could be decent, but it all depends on the updates we get on Calafiori and Timber. But I'm quite happy with this squad. It's updated now based on the information we got on Declan Rice. And with a free hit team, I've gone for Lamins, Chow, Gabriel and Dorgu, Foden, which could easily be Cherky, Gordon, Wirtz and Cunha, Ekitike, Haaland and Thiago up front, and a bench of Dubravka, Keane, Lewis Potter and Potts. You could also downgrade one of those two defenders and go for someone even cheaper if you are struggling for the funds, because you don't need to have a stacked bench when playing the free hit chip. But with the captaincy, it's between Ekitike, Cunha and Haaland. I'd probably go for Erling Haaland personally, and Ekitike would be the vice. That is my current preference, but if you are feeling a Matheus Cunha captaincy, then don't let me talk you out of it. I think that looks fairly decent as well. So that would be a sort of rough team. Even Chow could become Lewis Hall. Doubling up on United defensively seems a bit crazy because they've kept 2 clean sheets all season in the Premier League, but I think that's the way I'd go about it. And just to make it clear, I'd also captain Haaland in this wildcard squad, and that increases the expected points to 53.6. So FPL Challenge, I did fairly well last week. Well, maybe not, 43 points. And this week it's called Celebration, double celebration. So all goals and assists result in double points. You can pick 1 player per club, unlimited budget, and 6 players overall. I've gone for Lamins, Keane, Saka, Gordon, Haaland captain, and Ekitike, but I am tempted to change Keane and Saka. That could be a little bit different by the time we fully lock in our FPL Challenge squads. So what I'm going to do here is just show you the team selection graphics. It gives you an insight into how I did in Game Week 18 and also some of the transfer plans that I've got in store for the upcoming deadline. And it's mainly in that defense, which is the weakest part of my team now, with Timber yellow flagged and Nathaniel Klein being a horrible choice, even at 3.8 million. And the alternative is Matty Cash, who is suspended against Arsenal. Just like Kamara, and Villa are missing a few players of their own, but I think they've got a great opportunity to record the double over the Gunners with the absence of Declan Rice. But what I'll do after this section is show you my scoreline predictions, the top 10 captains and the clean sheet odds, my highlighted player of the week, who is in the podium of the top captaincy choices in general, and after that, the predicted lineups, and then going all the way back to your questions and making sure all of you are answered before the Gameweek 19 deadline. So you saw some of those transfer plans there. Another one would be Patrick Dorgu or Diogo Dalot. Those are still quite appealing to me. And honestly, I wouldn't mind doing Matty Cash to Dalot. That is really on the agenda at this moment in time. But assuming I make no transfers whatsoever, I would have Sanchez, O'Reilly, Anderson, Timber, Cunha, Foden, Wilson, Saka, Ekitike, Haaland and Thiago. I'd captain the Norwegian robot and vice-captain Ekitike, who I actually prioritized last week, and I gained a few points over Erling Haaland. Nothing special, though. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it in any sort of way, but let's go to the scoreline predictions now, and you can see how I'm kind of viewing these matches. So Burnley 0, Newcastle 1. Might surprise some of you. Chelsea 2, Bournemouth 1. Nottingham Forest 1, Everton 0. So I was thinking 1-1 in that game, and that's something I might address again, but I think based on that scoreline prediction, people going for John or Murillo, it makes perfect sense. West Ham 1, Brighton 1, Arsenal 2, Aston Villa 1, but I'll be honest with you, I might change this one, and I think Villa get at least a point at the Emirates, so possibly I'd say 1-1. 1-1 between Arsenal and Villa. Man United 2, Wolves 0, Crystal Palace 2, Fulham 1, Liverpool 3, Leeds 1, Brentford 2, Tottenham 2, and Sunderland 0, Man City 2. So my highlight play this week isn't anything special or revelationary. It's targeting Wolves once again, and it's going to be a former Wolves player in Matheus Cunha, who is going to be the sort of top recommendation and one of the standout campsy picks. If you want to go a bit differential and against Haaland, I think Cunha would be the way to go. Arsenal are top of the clean sheet odds with 51% probability against Aston Villa at home. Man United are second with Man City, Liverpool, Newcastle and Nottingham Forest in the top 6. And Wolves are bottom, facing Man United away from home. And when it comes to the top 10 captains, this is where things get interesting, especially with the top 3 who are levels above the rest in my opinion. But I've got Jarrod Bowen in 10th, facing Brighton at home. Cole Palmer is 9th, facing a struggling Bournemouth side. Igor Thiago is 8th, but Kevin Schade was the hat-trick hero last week. Anthony Gordon is 7th, with Wirtz, Saka and Foden just missing out on the podium, which comprise of Cunha, Ekitike and Erling Haaland in top spot once again. But now it's about the predicted lineups, and this is also subject to change. And of course, with Declan Rice, I need to replace him for bloody sake. So yeah, I think Merino could start in the midfield, or even Eze, although that would maybe be seen as a bit too offensive for the Gunners. But yeah, I think Merino would start over Declan Rice. So Raya in goal, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel and Hincapié, Zubimendi, Odegaard, Saka, Gyökeres and Trossard as the starting 11. For Aston Villa, we'll likely see Emi Martinez, Bogard at right back to replace the suspended Matty Cash, Konsa, Lindelof and Maatsen, with Tielemans and Onana as Kamara is suspended, McGinn, Rodgers, Buendia and Ollie Watkins, the birthday boy. Don't hurt Arsenal again, please. Thank you very much. Petrovic in goal for Bournemouth, Jimenez, Diakite, Senesi and Truffert, Tavernier and Cook, Brooks, Kluivert, Semenyo and Evanussen. We could also see Jimenez play further forward and Smith at right back. For Brentford, I've gone for Kelleher, Coyote, Adjer, and, okay, somehow it says Sunderland at home. That's supposed to be Collins, Henry, Janelt, Yarmuluk, Schade, Jensen, Lewis Potter, and Igor Thiago. So I will update these graphics as well, so it reflects the Declan Rice omission and the changes to some of these lineups. Verbruggen in goal for Brighton, Vifa, Van Heck, Dunk, Kadioglu, Ayari, Hinshelwood, Minter, Rutter, Mitoma, and Danny Welbeck. Moving on to Burnley, they have changed formations, so Dubravka would be the starting goalkeeper, Lauren, Ekdal and Humphreys, Walker and Perez as the wing-backs, Ogachukwu and Florentino Luis in central midfield, Edwards and Bryn Larson on the wings, and Broja up front. We're now on to Chelsea, who could go for a 4-2-3-1, Sanchez, James, Fofana, Chalobah and Gusto to replace the potentially injured Marc Cucurella, who has a hamstring injury, Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo, Pedro Neto, Palmer, Garnacho, and Joao Pedro. With Crystal Palace, it looks like Chris Richards will miss the Fulham game, and as a result, Lerma could replace him at centre-back. Henderson would be in goal, with Lacroix, Gay, Klein, and Mitchell, but we could even see Devaney play in a sort of wing-back position, but I think Nketiah will start alongside Yeremi Pino and Mateta. Wharton and Hughes will be the two starting midfielders. Everton have quite a fixed and stable starting 11 right now, but there are rumours of Keane, Grealish and Alcaraz all missing out, so let's keep an eye out for that situation. Assuming they're all fit, I think they'd be in the starting 11 with Pickford, O'Brien, Tarkowski, Mikalenko, Irigbonham, Garner, McNeil and Tierno Barry. Next up is Fulham, with Leno, Tete, Anderson, Cuenca and Robinson, who has been outstanding recently, Sandenberg and Lukic, Wilson, Smith-Rowe, Kevin, and the in-form Raul Jimenez. Speaking of in-form, Calvert-Lewin is probably the most, in-form striker in the country right now. With goals in 6 successive games, he's definitely going to start here against Liverpool away, with Perry in goal, Bogle, Ampadu, Biol, Strauk, and Goodmanson, as Rodon is injured. And that means Aronson, Tanaka, and Stack in the midfield, Calvert-Lewin and Okafor up front. With the Premier League champions Liverpool, Alisson, Frimpong, Konate, Van Dijk and Kirkes, Gravenberch and Jones, Szoboszlai, McAllister, Wirtz and Ekitike. One possible tweak could be Gakpo on the left and Wirtz in the attacking midfield role. The most informed team, or probably the second most informed team in the country, is Man City, with Donnarumma, Nunes, Ruben Diaz, Gvardio, and O'Reilly, Gonzalez, Bernardo Silva, Cherki, Reinders, Foden, and Erling Haaland. It seems quite stable right now. And the same goes for United, who played a back four for the first time under Ruben Amorim, with Lamens, Dalot, Heaven, Martinez, and Shaw, Casemiro and Ugarte in the midfield. Mason Mount is doubtful, and if he does miss out or he's not ready to start, I think Xerxes could be in this attacking midfield role, with Dorgu on the right, Cunha on the left, and Benjamin Sesko up front. With Newcastle United, Ramsdale versus Pope is going to be a big debate, and Lewis Miley will start right back for the time being. Cher, Chow and Hall would complete the defensive line. Tonali, Guimaraes, Ramsey in the midfield. Murphy, Gordon, and Nick Voltemada in the forward line. So a $4 million goalkeeper of interest is John, and he's been very impressive recently for Nottingham Forest. Savona, Milenkovic, Murillo, and Williams would be the back line. Anderson and Dominguez in the midfield. Hutchinson, Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi, and Igor Jesus up front. Sunderland could play a back five, but in some of these matches recently, they have also adopted a back four. But Rufs, Hume, Mukiele, Gertrauda, Alderete, and Sirkin would be the sort of defensive line if Ballard is still out. Adingra, Xhaka, Rigg, and Lefay in the midfield, and Brobby up front. Tottenham Hotspur got a very impressive win against Crystal Palace recently. Vicario, Borro, Romero, Van de Ven, and Spence would be the backline. Bentancur and Gray, who scored his first goal in senior football against the Eagles there. Kudus, Bergval, Colomwani, and Richarlison would all start. So Romero is back from suspension, and the same goes for Xavi Simons, I believe. Actually, no, because that could have been foul play. So he is still suspended for this game, actually. So I expect Romero to come in for Danso. Moving on to West Ham, Areola, Walker-Peters, Todibo, Kilman, and Scarles. Magassa, Potts, Fernandez, Paqueta, Bowen, and I've gone for Wilson over Somerville this time round. And the last team is Wolves, who I've gotten my worst predictions for, and they are bottom of the Premier League table with no wins in 12 matches. In fact, they've lost all 12 of them, but Mosquera is in my predicted 11 despite being doubtful with an injury. Jose Sarr, Santiago Bueno, and Doherty would be the back line, with Chichawa and Wolf as the wing-backs, and up front. So I will make some adjustments to this very soon, and yeah. I think with the Rice one in particular, that is of main interest, and I think Marino will start for the Gunners against Aston Villa. So if we do have a Super Chat goal, I will go live for a little bit longer, and there are a lot of scoreline predictions, or there's a lot of lineups to go through if that's the case, but we'll focus on that when the time comes, and there is the possibility I make a transfer within the next hour or so. You can see my team right now on screen, and I will be going through your questions again very shortly, but hopefully all these graphics and updates give you a lot of clarity and answer some of your questions in turn. So I'm just going to put my transfer plans now in the poll and see what you lot think as well. Okay, so it should only take a minute or so. And then this would be cash to Chow, cash to Dallo. I think that's pretty much it when it comes to transfer plans. There is also Keane. Okay, so there you go. Those are my transfer plans. Short and sweet. Nostradamus says, can you rate my 11? I'm not a massive fan of Heaven. I think short term he'll work out, which is probably what you want him for, but De Ligt and Maguire could be back fairly soon, and that wouldn't be great for Heaven, who probably would drop to the bench in that circumstance. But yeah, overall, I think for this week anyway, I'd say it's a 7. Lewis Miley in the 11 does let it down a little bit, despite the Burnley away fixture. He's a promising young talent, but FPL-wise, I'm not a big fan of him. On your bench, I mean, it's decent. 0.2 in the bank. I'm not sure how many transfers you have left, but if you only have 1 or 2, I understand why you might want to roll this week. But yeah, Lewis Miley is the only one I look at and think, I just don't think he's a great option. But it does allow you to go for Saka, Foden, Cunha, Haaland, and Ekitike. You've also got a third forward in Voltemada there, but yeah, I would reconsider that Lewis Miley pick as a starter. You have both him and Potts, so you've gone quite cheap in the midfield with those 2 options. What do you think of Foden captain? Well, he's 4th in my captaincy list. He got 12 points against Sunderland last time out, but I'd rather go for Erling Haaland personally. Who should I get from my subs in for Rice, Semenyo, or Keane? Semenyo. Yeah, it looks like Rice is out. Yeah, unfortunately. Yes, Nuclear Atoms, I literally just went through it a couple of minutes ago, so feel free to rewind. When I went to the website fpl.team, I showed a wildcard squad and then a best free hit team. So I'll go back to that later on, but not quite yet. Is Rich James good on the free hit? He's showing great form, to be fair, and Bournemouth have been terrible, but they're still scoring goals in a lot of these matches. I don't think Chelsea keep a clean sheet, so then you're relying on attacking potential from James, which he can offer, but I'm not exactly sure about that. I probably wouldn't go for James on the free hit. I'm starting O'Reilly this week, and I think City will keep a clean sheet. Calafiori to Saliba. I think the best Arsenal defender is Gabriel. If you can afford that, I'd go for it. Saliba's decent, but I think it's worth going for Gabriel at an extra 0.5 million, or 0.4 million now. Triple captain, I'd go for Haaland against Sunderland. He's my top captaincy pick, so the same applies to the triple captaincy too. My other recommendations are Ekitike in 2nd and Cunha in 3rd, but obviously I rank Haaland higher, so that's my recommendation. It looks like it. So Ballard did miss out the last game, and I don't think he'll start against Man City. So I think with Ballard, it's an ankle injury. If I can get the exact quote on him, that would be quite helpful. So this was from 2 days ago. Lebris said on Ballard, he got a kick on his ankle and it was too painful for him to play. We'll see how it is scanned. It doesn't seem too serious, but it's important to explore further and to find the best solution for his recovery. In regards to Keane and a few of these options, you're not really going to get clarity on those situations because they are relatively new and a lot of them are rumours from, I'd say, unreliable sources or unknown sources anyway. So it's difficult to trust that fully. And that's why Keane is still, or at least was a consideration for me as a potential cash replacement too. But I'll be honest, if I were to make a transfer this week, I'm very tempted by Cash to Dallo. I think that could be my my only move. That's looking increasingly more likely as we approach the Gameweek 19 deadline. 6.5 million good midfielder. I think Minter's decent. The same goes for Elliot Anderson, Reinders, but I'm probably going to say one of Xhaka, Caicedo, or I think Matoma would be interesting, actually. And he could even start against West Ham, but the other one is Harry Wilson still. Despite some tough fixtures coming up like Crystal Palace away and Liverpool at home, I still think Wilson can do well in those games. Dubravka, Raya, or Roofs? Well, for this week, the best one is Raya, but I think long-term I'd probably just stick with Roofs. He is the high-scoring goalkeeper, offering good value. Thank you, Haribo. Always good to see you. Hi, Dylan. I just tuned in. You may have already discussed what is your best idea on whether Timber will start and get 60-plus minutes. Thanks and good luck. So I believe Timber will start, and this is something I've been talking about all week, but to be honest with you, I am less confident now because of the update I showed earlier, which is that in the training pictures that Arsenal released yesterday, there was no Declan Rice, who will now reportedly miss out, And the same goes for Calafiori and Timber. Now, I still think Gabriel will start, obviously, and the same goes for Timber too. But I am less confident about that. But in terms of my prediction, he'll start, get 60+ minutes, and that's what we kind of all hope for. And if Arsenal have a clean sheet by then, that'd be even better. But yeah, it's not a guarantee, to be quite honest with you. But I think Timber will start against Villa, and hopefully that is the case. Yeah, exactly. Keane is doubtful, but I'm not sure how reliable the source is, the one that broke the news per se. King Julian says, I like Cash Dallo. Next three look great, and he's been putting up some okay data. Yeah, and also United, I mean, they've only kept 2 clean sheets this season, but against Newcastle was a great first-half performance. Then they really faded in the second, but they got the job done. And I think Dallo could get one good return over the next 3. He's a bit more sustainable than Dorgu long-term, but of course, they're both very cheap. I'm just quite tempted by Dallo right now. Should I keep Thiago on the free hit? He is in my free hit squad, so I'm going to say yes to that question. But there are alternatives like Voltemada, and you might be interested in Welbeck, who should start against West Ham. You've got alternatives there, but if you're going for a front 3, I think Thiago does make it. Your advice to keep Saka and Semenyo help, thank you. I'm glad to hear it, Dryhill, a long-time viewer of the channel, and hopefully we have more of these good ideas and elements of luck, you could say, going in our favour. Hi, Dylan, would you start on the free hit Foden, Szoboszlai, Voltemada? Foden's the best one of the 3, in my opinion. He's 4th in my Campsy list for a reason, so he's going to be the choice there. Bring in James or Hall for a -4. To be fair, James is a better asset than Hall in isolation. Despite Chelsea having tough fixtures coming up, like Bournemouth arguably, and particularly Man City, I'd still go for James out of the 2. Now, I don't think it's worth taking a hit for either one of them, but I think James has been so consistent, and essentially in the last 5 games he has played, he has returned with 6 points or above. Van Hecke or Keane? Keane is my preference, but just bear in mind there are rumours that he's going to miss out. I don't think the sources are that known or reliable, but it's just worth putting it out there. Bowen, Thiago, Sesko or Watkins on free hit? Bowen's an interesting one. He has a solid record against West Ham, his own club, against Brighton, but I would probably go for Thiago, who is in my best free hit squad from yesterday's video and also the one I showed you earlier. I'd go for Szoboszlai over Wilson on the wildcard. Basil says, will I play Semenyo or do transfer to maybe Cherki, Gordon, Schade? I get the appeal of all 3 of those midfielders, but I'd probably just keep Semenyo. He has to go through this game unscathed without getting booked to avoid that suspension risk, and he is linked with Man City, so this could be his final game for Bournemouth against Chelsea away, but I'd probably keep him. Start Timber or Gay? I'd lean towards Timber, but not by much. Thank you very much, Abbo. Very nice of you. What do you think of Gakpo or Wirtz? I'd go for Wirtz, and there's no guarantee that Gakpo will even start, because we could see Wirtz on the left, McAllister as the attacker midfielder, with Jones and Gravenberch in central midfield. So, yeah, of those 2, Gakpo was in my team from the beginning, and he was the better asset at the time, but I think Wirtz has shown good form recently. Even before he was returning, he had some decent performances here and there, and it's now finally coming together in the last 3 match days. Would you sell Timber regardless? Arsenal have the most fit, so more rotation inbound, and I think Villa score. Well, it's been a bit of a crazy one because I bought in Timber last week for Hincapié, who was yellow flagged at the time. The Ecuadorian started and Timber missed out, so just not an ideal situation from the get-go. I still want an Arsenal defender, and I think Gabriel is the best one now long-term, but Timber is second, and he would be one of the top defenders in the game overall. So I'm not sure if I would sell Timber regardless. If I see that he starts against Villa, I'm definitely keeping him, and my priority would be cash to Diogo Dalot. Pick 2, Saka, Palmer, Voltemada. I'd pick the first 2. Replacement for Rice, Bruno Guimaraes would be solid, but it just depends who you have already. Siad says, I want to bench boost Senesi, Van Hecke, Dubravka and Guiu. I want to remove Senesi. Should I get Lewis Potter or Dorgu? I'd go for Dorgu. Both of them are playing further forward. Lewis Potter is going to be more consistent when it comes to attacking threat, but when it comes to the clean sheet chances, I think United are significantly higher than Brentford. And on top of that, I think you should upgrade Guiu. to maximize your bench boost as well. Even if that's Calvert-Lewin or Raul Jimenez, that would be a significant upgrade. I have Grealish, bought him in last week. Would you do straight swap to Cherki, Bruno Guimaraes, Szoboszlai or Roll and praise fit? Bruno Guimaraes is the best option long-term in my opinion, but I would be tempted by Cherki as a punt. I'd go to Cherki personally, yeah. Thank you, Haribo, as well, for this super chat. Do I start Timber or be safe and keep him on the bench? Basically, if he's benched, do you think he cameos? I need to play 60 minutes or 0. I get that. Personally, I think Timber either starts or doesn't play at all. And bear in mind, Declan Rice is injured, according to the reports. So in the last game when Timber was out, and there's no Ben White as well, of course, Declan Rice was playing in that position. So I think Timber will start this game, but there were some reports from reliable sources like Hand of Arsenal on Twitter who indicated that White has an outside shout of being in the Arsenal squad, but I don't think he's fit enough to start the game yet. So I think Timber will get the nod there at right back. Otherwise, Arteta has to be very creative with the solutions. And it's a tricky situation for the Gunners with all the injuries they've got right now. I know someone earlier pointed out or said that Arsenal will rotate. They've got a lot of depth and stuff like that, but many of these defenders have been injured, and both Calafiori and Timber are not guaranteed to start in Game Week 19. But I think Timber will, and he'll get 60-plus minutes personally. But hopefully I'm right, and I'm not completely off the mark here. But Arsenal really need Timber and Calafiori available for this game, especially after the Rice news that broke earlier. Is Rice a sell? I believe so, unfortunately. And it's only because of this injury. I think he was one of the best replacements for Bruno Fernandes long-term. But it looks like he's going to miss the Villa game. And there's no surprise there if he also misses the Bournemouth game in a couple of days' time. Having Wilson on the bench to cover, no Cunha in the team. Yeah, Wilson's not bad to start. I've got him in my starting 11, which maybe isn't ideal, but I think Wilson's a good budget option. No Cunha, but if you could do Rice to Cunha for free, I'd recommend that personally. Okay, so I am getting questions about free hit and stuff that I've already covered literally just a few minutes ago. I will go back to them later in the stream, but I would encourage some people to rewind and then go back to the live section afterwards once they have that information and have caught up to those main bits and bobs I've covered already. But with the best free hit team, I'll go back to that. Even with the wildcard squad, I showed an updated version with Declan Rice not being a factor now because of the injury. So that'll all be covered very soon. When it comes to the poll I put out, Timber to Gabriel is winning with 35%, but Cash to Dallo is second with 29%. So Keane is last in this list, and Chow is third. So that's interesting. But I think what it will come down to, I think it's going to be Cash to Dallo or Timber to Gabriel. I think that's the most likely for me. My bench is Gay and Anderson, who both face each other, and I'm using my bench boost. It's not a massive issue, to be fair. It's not ideal on paper, but it's better than an attacker facing a defender. In this case, if it's a goalless draw, you'll be a very happy man, and I wouldn't be that surprised if Fulham Crystal Palace ended 0-0. But yeah, Captain Cunha, he's third in my list. I think he's a good option, but not as good as Haaland, which is why I've currently got Haaland captain. I used bench boost like Game Week 11 or something like that, and it was horrible. If I used it around Game Week 15-ish, 16, that would have been a pretty decent one with a 10 points. But yeah, over the past 2 months, I think my bench has been horrendous in most weeks. Would you start Minter or Kudus? I think I'd start Minter, to be honest with you. But not an easy one. Would you bench boost Dubravka, Mukiele, Wilson and Senesi, or triple captain Haaland, Cunha or Ekitike? It's a good question. I'd probably triple captain, but there's not much in it. And Haaland is currently my captain, so that speaks for itself. Hi Dylan, is it worth doing Saka to Cunha for free? Or keep Saka, do Van Dijk to Mukiele and Minter to Cunha for a -4? Well, out of those moves, I'd rather just buy Cunha for free, but I still think Saka offers good value, or at least he'll be fairly consistent because for 10.3 million, and he could go down in price tonight, we need to see a little bit more from him, especially with the goal scoring. Foden or Saka? For this week, I prefer Foden. Is a hit Semenyo to Cunha and then captaining Cunha a good idea? I wouldn't do it for a hit. Thoughts on Minter, hold or sell? He's a hold. Bench 1, Wilson, Raul or Dorgu? I'd bench one of the Fulham players there. I'd bench Raul Jimenez despite the returns in the last 2 games. Have Rice but not Cunha. Should I sell Rice and Minter for Cunha and Lefebvre for a -4, but I have Kruppi as my third attacker? I wouldn't do it, not for a hit. Instead, you could do something like Rice to Minter for free, or go to Bruno Guimaraes and all these different midfielders I've covered. I don't have money to upgrade Guiu at all. We'll only have to take out Senesi for Dorgu, Dalot or Potter to play my bench boost. Yeah, I'd go for Dalot. If money is no issue, and this is about thinking longer term, bigger picture, right? Where Dorgu could be your 5th defender, that's absolutely fine, but I prefer Dalot out of the 3. To buy after this game, Foden or Saka? Probably Saka. Hi Dylan, Chow or Hall for Consul Senesi? I prefer Chow. Not by much, but I just think with Defcon and Lewis Hall not really showing the heights of last season, I'd lean towards Chow. As for who you're selling, I still think Senesi can offer you Defcon, but Bournemouth have tougher fixtures than Aston Villa. And they're also winless in 9. Aston Villa have won 11 consecutive games across all competitions. So I think Senesi's the better FPL asset, but in terms of timing and fixtures, it might be worth selling him. He's also more expensive, so it gives you a bit more leeway when it comes to squad depth and your budget. I think Timber will play, yes, but I can't guarantee it. Have Rice but not Cunha. Should I sell Rice and Minter? Yeah, that was covered, mate. Chasing rank a little bit, so I've got rid of Thiago. I think he'll be rested due to knee issues and punted out on Sesko. I don't think Thiago will be benched against Tottenham, but look, if it ends up happening, then I'll try and remember your comment because that'd be a great shout. I would not captain Sesko personally. He's only got a couple of goals this season, and he has moments like the hitting the crossbar against Newcastle, but I just don't trust him, especially for a captain. So the only United player I'd consider putting the armband on is Matheus Cunha, and even with him, he's fairly inconsistent this season. Vandenberg is not in my predicted lineup against Tottenham. I've actually got Adja and Collins there. Lewis Potter or Dalot for my free hit team? Dalot. Should I start Timber or Hincapié? Timber. Now, Hincapié is a bit more safe, you could say. I think Hincapié will start, and that could even be at left back. But that all depends, right? Because if Calafiori and Timber are both available, then that could change very quickly, and then Hincapié is on the bench again. So, difficult question, but Timber's the better asset overall. I think Richards is a sell. The best free hit team was covered earlier, like I said, and I will go through everything again later on. But yeah, you can rewind and then go back to the live section as well. Rice replacement on a bench boost, Cherki, Gordon or Sharda on a -4-2. Well, for this week specifically, I'd rank Gordon the highest of the 3, but there's not much in it. And long term, I'd go for Cherki. Hey Dylan, record Richards and Cherki to Dorgu and Cunha is worth it for free? Yes. The only downside to that is selling Cherki, who has been outstanding recently. Bench 2, Gay, Virgil, Keane, Anderson, Timber. I would bench... That's very difficult. I'd bench Anderson and possibly Mark Gay. Dylan, who's the best Semenya replacement for a -4? I don't think it's worth selling Semenya for a hit, but apart from Foden now, Saka, Palmer, I think the best one would be Cunha. DCL or Anderson to cover Rice? Calvert-Lewin. Sunderland will be a tough team to beat. Yeah, but I still think City will get the job done. That's just my opinion, though. I think City will win 2-0. Haaland will get a goal or 2. And Bob's your uncle. Timber, keep or sell? I lean towards keep. And there are rumours of Key missing out, which I covered earlier, but they're not concrete. And they're not from reliable sources or known ones, per se. You've already got Raya, which is fair enough, but you could always do Timber to Gabriel in Gameweek 20, for example. And I back Timber to start here, even though I'm less confident. Rice to Trossard. Trossard's been quite impressive this season, but in FPL terms, I think Saka is now the best Arsenal midfielder, and you can find better value and consistency than Trossard. So I probably would go elsewhere. Lewis Potter or Dalot has been covered. I would go for Dalot. Semenyo or Szoboszlai? I'd lean towards Semenyo still, but there are a few factors which kind of make people keen on selling him. So one is the fact he's on 4 yellow cards, one more and he will be suspended, and he's also linked with Man City. He could join them in Game Week 20 or 21. Play Raya or the Burnley goalkeeper? Raya. Hi mate, great stream today. Thank you very much. Who do you recommend as the best under 7 million mid, apart from Szoboszlai and Minter? Under 7 million? Yeah, I think Szoboszlai is a great shout. I still like Wilson, but I wouldn't say he's the best one overall. So that's a tricky question. So I'd say probably one of... I think Minter would be up there. Gravenberch and... yeah, under 7 million. So yeah, that rules out quite a few players. I think that's probably what I'd say. Yeah, one of Gravenberch or Minter for me. Good to see you, Baraf. Yeah, Larkin. I saw your free team earlier, so I already gave my thoughts on it. But yeah, double United defense. I'd rather go for Dal over Heaven if you have enough money, but it's a good team. Rice will not play according to the reports, and we don't know when he's going to be back. But it wouldn't surprise me if he also missed Game Week 20 against Bournemouth. Greg Bear says, thanks Dylan, may look to move back on to Cherky a bit later, as I suspect there will be some efficiencies to come in future. Yeah, I get that. And if you're in a strong position with multiple free transfers at your disposal, it makes sense to kind of switch around a little bit. Best 4 million defender, Alderete, but I don't like him this week. Bench boost or triple captain? Depends on the bench and also who you're planning to triple captain, but I'd lean towards the triple captain. Would you start Rodgers? Alternatives on the bench, Klein, Timber, DCL? Well, over those players, I'd arguably go for a yes, but Calvert-Lewin has been sensational recently. Timber is reliable most of the time. Klein, not so much, of course, but yeah, it's between Rodgers or Timber, I think, to start. Someone triple captain Dorgu last game week. What world are we living in now? Some people just make a second team for the fun of it, and they go for something random in the hopes of getting the Player of the Month or Player of the Week award. So I don't look too much into it. Sometimes it's genuine and fair play to them, but it's not always the case. Play 2 from Gyökeres, Saliba, Keane, or Sesko. I'd play Keane and Sesko, actually. Sharda thoughts? Decent differential, but I think it'll be quite inconsistent. And that's why in my Transits podcast, I talked about skipping him going into Game Week 19. So another free hit squad. Sells, Virgil, Chow, Dorgu, Bruno Guimaraes, Wirtz, Cunha, Foden, Haaland, Voltemada, Ekitike, with Dubravka, Deveni, Alderete, Goodmanson on the bench, 0 in the bank. Yeah, makes sense. You've cheaped out your bench as well. Maybe you could improve one of them so you've got a reliable option on the bench just in case. But yeah, Sells, I just don't think he'll start, or at least it's not a guarantee. John has been playing very well recently, so I would change the Sells pick in there. As for your defensive line, it looks good. Not many complaints there. I do think Leeds will score against Liverpool. And I think Dalot is the best United defender in isolation, but Dorgu offers good value right now. As for your midfield and forward line, yeah, it looks really good. Especially the forward line. I think that's the best part of your team. So overall, quite happy with it, but I'd change Sells and maybe reconsider 1 or 2 picks, mainly in that defensive line. I think Van Dijk could be dropped there. I have Keane, Ballard, Timber, Hincapié, and Guiu. Would you take a -4 to ensure I have 11 players? Well, one of Timber, Hincapié will start. I'm very confident about that. Now, with the rest, I get it. That's where the hit might need to be taken because you guarantee that 11th player, which is very important. But with the Keane one, I'm not sure how reliable this source is, to be honest with you. Ballard, I think, won't play. Guiu just never gets any minutes anyway, so it makes sense. I probably would take the hit, but it also depends on the circumstances. Who are you selling, and who are the planned replacements for them? And that's what determines if it's worth the hit or not. Happy New Year, mate. What do you think about Saka to Cunha? Likewise to you. Foden to Cherki, Foden to Cunha, and choose one, Anderson or Miley. I'd pick Elliot Anderson. And as for the first question, difficult. I think it would be Saka to Cunha, but I still like Saka, to be honest with you. Semenyo or Harry Wilson to Szoboszlai, or just roll? I'd rather sell Harry Wilson if you can, but Semenyo is a big question mark in the future. On a bench boost, Gravenberch for Tavernier -4. Not for a hit. I have Rice, Timber and Keane in my starting 11. Wilson, Alderete and Guiu on my bench. Is my bench cover enough or a -4? Well, Rice won't play, based on the reports. With Timber and Keane, I think they both will start, but there are some concerns about that now. And I think Wilson is decent cover, so I'd probably stick with what you have. Matthias Praisler says, best starting 11. Donnarumma, Virgil, Gay, Keane, Cunha, Bruno Guimaraes, Gravenberch, Gordon, Haaland, Ekitike, Voltemada, with Dubravka, Anderson, Timber and Anderson on the bench. I think in terms of the bench order and the starting 11, you've ordered it correctly. That's how I would go about it as well. Richards to Chow / Dallo, 0.5 in the bank, or have Alderete off the bench and roll. I'd make the defender transfer. Long-term Chow is the better pick, but over the next 3, I see the appeal of Dorgu, and in your case, Diogo Dallo, so I'd make that move instead. Playing the bench boost today, need a 5 million option for a midfielder. Any recommendations? There's not really anybody since Dewsbury Hall got injured. So it's one of Potts or Miley. And Potts is a little bit cheaper at 4.4 million. I just think with the rest, it's not really worth the extra funds there. Play Van der Ven or Anderson? I'd play Anderson. -4 for Dorgu. My defense now is Timber, Richards, Anderson, Mukiele and Goodmanson. I think in your situation, yes, because you've got Richards who will likely miss out. Timber is a doubt, but I think he will start. You've got Mukiele facing Man City, Joachim Anderson away to Crystal Palace, and Goodmanson away to Liverpool. So I think a hit in this case is justified. Now, with Dorgu, he is a very short-term punt for the next 3 game weeks, and I think after the next month, so when the African Cup of Nations finishes, that's where we could see a reduction in minutes and starts for the Danish international. Okay, so if you haven't done so already, drop a like on the stream, the final one of 2025, and it has been a blast talking to you for hundreds, thousands of hours for UCL Fantasy and FPL over the years, and there's a lot more to look forward to going into the next calendar year, 2026. There'll be Gameweek 20 content. The plan is to do a Transitips podcast, Best Wildcard Squad, and my team selection. We're all going to have a fresh set of chips as well for the second half of the campaign. This is your last opportunity to use your first half of the season boosters, so make sure to use them, because after Gameweek 19 has locked in 30, 40 minutes time, that is it, and they will be burned essentially, and you always want to gain a few points. Even if it's just a few, it's better than just letting chips go to complete waste. But check all the links in the description. There's my Twitter, Instagram and Blue Sky, Dylan RCM. Join my Discord server as well for FPL and UCL Fantasy updates, and the same goes for my channel and all the pieces of content. Also, check out my Spotify and become a patron or channel member to support the channel even further and gain early access to my videos, amongst many other perks. The aim for this stream will be to get it to over 150 likes overall and close in on new goals like 38,000 subscribers on YouTube. So there are many more goals to reach in the next calendar year, and we're on the precipice of reaching the next big one there with the subscriber count. So right now, decent numbers, but let's get it, like I said, to 100 plus likes to begin with, and then push on towards 150. A big up to the channel members as well who signed up today, to Paredes for gifting 5 memberships himself, and to the super chatters. You're all massively appreciated as well. And what I'm going to do before going back to your questions is go through the member stuff first, and also a new membership being gifted. And after that, I'll be talking about the FDR, predicted points again, price changes, and top 10 captains, best free hit squad, so you are well prepared for Game Week 19 and beyond. So let's go through the member stuff first. Paredes says Everton defense, and what's your thoughts on Heaven for 3.8 million? Well, in the short term, Heaven looks fine. At that price point, it seems like a steal. I'd rather have him than Klein, which isn't really saying much, but my favourite United defender is Dalot. I think Dorgu at 4.2 is more appealing than Heaven as well, but of course, as you point out, the 3.8 million price tag is ridiculous. As for the Everton defence, I do like Keane until Branthwaite returns from injury. I think Tarkowski's a bit too expensive for my liking. Pickford in goal is a similar price tag, but amongst goalkeepers, he's always up there, so he justifies that sort of price tag and investment. So yeah, I think that covers your questions there. Michael Keane is the one, but there are some rumours of him missing out today. The same goes for Alcaraz and Grealish. Only time will tell with that one, and the source itself is not known or reliable, so I would take it with a pinch of salt. So here's my free hit: John, Hall, Dalot, Dorgu, Foden, Palmer, Wirtz, Gordon, Cunha, Haaland, Ekitike, with Sells, Chow, Ekdal, Guiu. Yeah, that makes sense to go for Sells and John. So for anyone who has Sells, for example, maybe have John as your backup just in case if you back that Forest clean sheet. So that's a good way of approaching it. You've got double United defence, which I've also gone for. Dalot and Dorgu. That looks pretty promising. So yeah, I like the look of your squad. Not many complaints from me. It's very similar to my setup, but you've got Cole Palmer in there, which is something I don't have, and you've gone for a 3-5-2. So that works very well, actually. I like the structure of your free hit team, and it should score a decent number of points. Start Rodgers or Thiago this game week. I'd start Thiago. -4 for Alderete to Dorgu or Dalot because of Rice's expected injury. Well, if Alderete is the player coming in for Rice, then yes, I would take the hit, and I would go for Dalot, but they're both fine, not much in it. I compared the stats earlier for Dorgu and Dalot, but I just think Dalot will get more bonus points and he's more reliable in the long term. Happy New Year to you as well there. Thank you very much. Thanks for the insights and streams. Rice to Cunha, Cash to Dalot. Yep, I like the look of that. I'm also looking at Cash to Dalot myself. Hincapié, Anderson, Klein, O'Reilly, Dalot. What three should I play? I'd start Dalot, O'Reilly, and I would go for Hincapié, but there's not much in it between him and Joachim Andersen. Now, if it was Mark Gay, for example, I'd probably favour him over Joachim Andersen or Fulham defenders, but I think with Klein it's a little bit different, actually. Well, at the moment, it's more likely I'll buy Dalot, which I've repeated a few times. Yeah, I think Palmer will start, and I'll go through the predicted lineups very soon. Thank you very much, John Paul. The same goes to you. Compliments of the season, Dylan. With a defensive squad of Hincapié, Lewis Skelly, Cash, Rodon, and Van Dijk, would you go with Dorgu and O'Reilly in for Lewis Skelly and Rodon on a -4? Yes, I would. And there's no guarantee that Lewis Skelly starts against Villa anyway. Keep or sell Szoboszlai and Enzo? I'd keep, especially in the case of Szoboszlai. Good to see you, Coopsy Coop. Hey, Dylan, should I start Anderson and roll or sell Senesi to Dalot and bench Anderson? I'd probably sell Senesi to Dalot, actually. If Bournemouth showed a bit better form than, you know, being winless in 9 matches, then it would be a different story. Weiseng puts his squad. Who to bench? So you're benching Timber, DCL, Klein at the moment. Makes sense. I think I'd probably keep it as it is. There is a possible debate to start Timber over Konate, but I think it's probably just about right, the way you've done it. Yeah, I'd go for that. You could arguably put Calvert-Lewin first on your bench and Timber second, but that's the only thing I'd change. Bruno Guimaraes or Semenyo? I'd rather buy Bruno Guimaraes right now, but they're both suspension risks. They need to go through Game Week 19 without getting booked in order to not be suspended. Is it worth doing Richards to Dorgu to play instead of Raul Jimenez or Anderson? Possibly over Anderson, yes. I'd go for that. Richards to Dorgu, but just like Bruno Guimaraes and Semenyo, one more yellow for Dorgu and he will be suspended. He needs to go through Game Week 19 without the booking. Start Anderson or Keane? I'd start Keane. Would you do Voltemada / Watkins for Mateta Bowen? I'd still sell Watkins to Bowen, but I don't see it as a massive upgrade right now. Palmer or Saka? Saka. Yeah, Rice reportedly out for 2 weeks. Yeah, thanks for that update. I mean, not good news for Arsenal whatsoever. I'm so nervous about my Dallo captaincy pick, says Ahmad. Every time I plan to captain a defender, I chicken out and they haul. Sticking to my guns this time. I wish you the best with that one. I might even be on board with having Dallo in my team, but not captaining him. That is a crazy move, but I think it could work. If he gets a clean sheet and anything on top of that, you're looking at a massive return. Thank you, Keith, for gifting a membership as well. It's massively appreciated. And the new member we have here is Gman880. So enjoy it. For an entire month, you'll get early access to my videos, proud to comments, and many other perks. I think Timber will start, but he is doubtful. He missed the Brighton game for a reason. He landed awkwardly against Palace in the Carabao Cup, but I think he will start. Pratic says thoughts or tweaks to my free hit. So Pickford, Dubravka, Hall, Gavardio, Dallo, Keane, Mukiele, Cunha, Gordon, Wirtz, Foden, Schade, Haaland, Ekitike, Guiu. Possibly changing one of the Everton players, so either Keane or Pickford. I wouldn't double up on the Toffees defensively. Gavardio's interesting, and he has been quite solid in recent weeks, even better than O'Reilly, so I get that. Kevin Schade, also with that hat-trick, makes it into your squad. I'm less keen on him this week than others are, but I understand why you're going for him, and I think the rest is very close to what I've built with my best free hit squad anyway. Gordon or Voltemada? For this week, Gordon, I just don't trust him long term. Semenyo and Rodgers keep or replace to who? Arguably Semenyo to Cunha, but only for free. I would not do it for a hit, and I think you can keep the rest as well. Zero says, yo Dylan, here is my squad. Suggest some transfers. Raya, Dubravka, defense, Richards, Alderete, Keane, Joachim Anderson, Foden. Oh yeah, Van Dijk as well. Saka, Cunha, Dewsbury Hall, Minter, Ekitike, Thiago Haaland. So afterwards, Zero, just let me know what money you've got in the bank and how many transfers you have. But yeah, goalkeepers are fine. Richards is a sell. Yeah, I would look to sell Richards to Dallo if you're looking for someone short term. And I think if you're looking a bit at the bigger picture, I think Chow or Hall would be good acquisitions with that solid run of fixtures for Newcastle as well. Dewsbury Hall is sellable, but it all depends on your budget because at a similar price tag, there isn't really too much out there. So for now, you could just keep him on the bench. I do like Bruno Guimaraes in the midfield. That's someone you could target. But yeah, I think the main issues are in that defensive line. Best Grealish replacement. I have 7.8 million left. I think Bruno Guimaraes should be a top replacement for him. Thank you, Keith. Happy Christmas and New Year, Dylan. Hope whoever wins the membership enjoys it. Very kind of you, Keith, and I wish you the best of luck as well for 2026 and enjoy the festivities. We still have another day to go until the new year. Thoughts on the Arsenal game today? Villa need to get humbled, but in the absence of Rice, I am not so confident. Well, I went for a 2-1 prediction originally, but that was with the assumption that Rice would be available. And yeah, I'm less confident now. I think Villa will get a result, but hopefully I am proven wrong. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is update the graphics for the predicted lineups and make sure I've got Rice out of that starting 11. So let's get Marino in there. And I'm also going to edit the other ones. Okay, that's done. So Collins, and just going to have a quick look at these and make sure, because there could be 1 or 2 alterations here. I think that's fine. Oh yeah, with Everton, I mean, who even knows at this point with Keane, Grealish and Alcaraz, the rumours suggesting that they're all going to be out. Only time will tell with that one, but I'm going to keep them in there for now. I just don't have enough information on that. I think with the rest, I'm quite happy with that. Okay. Oh yeah, this one. Instead of Fer Lopez, it should say Mane. Okay, so we do have 27 minutes left until the deadline. Make sure to lock in and don't leave it for the last couple of minutes like I usually do. Overthinking is not always the best thing to do, especially when it comes to fantasy football. So, you're just going to edit that as well quickly. And I'm going to change my Arsenal prediction. And we'll see how that ages. Okay. And after the deadline has passed, I'm going to go through FPL Challenge as well. So that will also be factored in. And I actually need to keep FPL Challenge open somewhere so I can change it if some of my players are benched. That's happened quite a few times this season. Okay, so I'm going to change the Arsenal prediction and have that ready for you. As for the best free hit team, people are asking in the live chat, that's going to be covered again because it was highlighted earlier in my wildcard squad yesterday. I also showed you the best free hit team. But yeah, the updated versions for the wildcard and free hit will be showed one more time in a couple of minutes. So yeah, just give me a second and then I will be with you. Yeah, let's go for 1-1 there. Yeah, I'm going to go for those predictions then. So what I'm going to do actually, whilst I'm preparing this, is show you the lineups, but I already kind of provided commentary over them anyway. So as you can see, I've changed this a little bit. So Marino does replace Declan Rice, and with the others, they were all talked about with players returning from suspension. Also, a few suspension risks in there as well that are worth highlighting. Semenyo is one of them. And yeah, that is all talked about. Injury updates as well. There are a few that are question marks, like Michael Keane. There are reports of him reportedly, missing out in Gameweek 19. Alcaraz too, and even Jack Grealish, but I don't really know the source, so I can't judge its validity just yet. So after this is done, I'm going to go to the FDR and all these different graphics. And of course, the freer team is going to be one of the main focuses. A lot of people have requested that. Let's get the likes up to 150 plus. There's still a decent number of you watching here, which I appreciate. So yeah, that is all covered. All of the typos and stuff all rectified. And now let's go to the FDR. So the bottom 5 teams, Bournemouth, Leeds, Fulham, Arsenal, and Wolves. And if we look at the top, Newcastle, Spurs, Everton, West Ham, and Man United until Gameweek 24. With predicted points, O'Reilly, Gabriel, Palmer, Ekitike, Semenyo, Rice, Foden, Cunha, Saka, and Haaland, but Rice could miss the next 2 weeks, according to reports. With projected price changes, Calvert-Lewin, Rice, Hall, Gay, Gvardiol, Verbruggen, Cunha, and Alderete could all rise. And someone else has joined the list just now, Tarkovsky. Tarkovsky and Heaven are in that list as well. with price falls, there are quite a few of them, with Cucurella, Hincapié, Dango, Ouattara, Mateta being some of the main ones. Not all of these will happen. And if I refresh this poll that I put out earlier on YouTube, Timber to Gabriel is the leading vote, Cash to Dorgu is second, and I do have a similar vote on this channel right now in the video. So, yeah, I think the results also kind of reflect this one too. So Declan Rice is expected to miss the game against Aston Villa, which was covered at the very beginning of the stream. And both Timber and Calafiori remain massive doubts. They weren't pictured in training, just like Declan Rice yesterday. And both teams are missing key players. I compared the stats of Dorgu and Dalot. Both of them are identical, but Dalot is more expensive. He's also got more assists with 5 for the season, and I think he offers a higher baseline bonus than Dorgu and more consistent minutes beyond the next 3 game weeks, which is the main appeal of these Man United assets. With the updated wildcard squad, I've replaced Declan Rice with Morgan Rogers, Sanchez and Dubravka as the goalkeepers, Chow, Keane and Dorgu in that defensive line. If you have enough money, I'd rather go for Dalot, but it's all about your squad structure and preferences. I've gone for Cherki, Wirtz, Rogers, Cunha and Bruno Guimaraes in the midfield, Ekitike and Haaland up front, and the bench is quite stacked with Calvert-Lewin, Gabriel and O'Reilly. So some of you might be tempted to downgrade one of these options and then use that to upgrade another position. That is also viable. With the updated free hit squad, I've gone for Lamins, Chow, Gabriel and Dorgu. And one possible change I would make here is maybe Gabriel out and then upgrade Dorgu. So that's something I would consider as well. And I think John would replace Dubravka, even though that's not a massive change. Some of you might even want to go for John Ansels and have a guaranteed Forest starting goalkeeper there against Everton at home. That looks fairly decent. And to be honest with you, I would consider that now as well. That could work fairly well. It is a good idea that people have talked about. So FPL.team do back Sels to start based on the predicted points. But that's where you can also go for Dalot over Gabriel. Lewis Hall versus Chow. I prefer Chow long term, but on a free hit, you can always take a bit of a punt there. Foden and Cherki is also quite close, but I've gone for Gordon, Wirtz, Cunha. Ekitike, Haaland, Thiago. That looks quite solid. And the bench has Keane, Lewis Potter, and Potts. It could just be any budget midfielder. You don't need to have a lot of squad depth when it comes to this position. And look, I'm even going to go for Gabriel here. Why not? Over Lewis Potter. But that looks like a decent free hit squad. I would captain Haaland and probably vice captain Ekitike. But Cunha isn't too far behind in 3rd place. With FPL Challenge as well, Lamens, Keane, Saka, Gordon, Haaland and Ekitike. But this could well change. And I might even go for a Forest defender like Murillo. That could work fairly well. And this is not completely locked in. But this week, it is called Double Celebration. So all goals and assists will score double points. And these are my updated scoreline predictions. And the main changes I've made are in the West Ham, Brighton and Arsenal, Aston Villa games. So Burnley 0, Newcastle 1, Chelsea 2, Bournemouth 1, Nottingham Forest 1, Everton 0, West Ham 2, Brighton 2, a 1-1 draw between Arsenal and Aston Villa, Man United 2, Wolves 0, Crystal Palace 2, Fulham 1, Liverpool 3, Leeds 1, Brentford 2, Tottenham 2, and Sunderland 0, Man City 2. The highlight player this week you've seen before, and also the team weakness. I've been hammering home how bad Wolves have been with 12 consecutive losses, and their former star player from last season, Matheus Cunha, could come back to haunt them once again. He did produce a return against them only a couple of weeks ago. With the clean sheet odds, Arsenal, United, City, Liverpool, Newcastle and Forest complete the top 6, and Wolves are last once again. And when it comes to the top 10 captains, we have the same familiar face at number 1, but I don't think he's a standout as he would have been against West Ham in Game Week 17. So Bowen is 10th, facing Brighton at home. Palmer, Thiago, Gordon and Wirtz just miss out on the top 5, which consists of Saka, Foden, Cunha, Ekitike and Erling Haaland. So that pretty much wraps it up. I also showed you the lineups earlier as well, and hopefully that helps you a lot when making your final decisions. But We've only got 80 minutes left, and that means I'll use the rest of this time to answer questions. But if people ask about the free hit, I'm sorry, I literally just went through it, so I'm not going to do that again. So Rania puts a super chat and he says Sanchez, Chow, Nico Gonzalez, Van Dijk, Foden, Wilson, Saka, Tavernier, Hugo, Thiago, Haaland, Dubravka, Timber, and 2 NPCs. Okay, fair enough. That's a good way of calling them. Need to bench boost, free transfers, 0 in the bank, moves. Well, ideally you'd upgrade the NPCs, and that could require downgrading Timber, actually. So doing something like Timber to Dallo might give you enough money to upgrade the 2 NPCs, who I don't know who they are, but that is what I'd recommend to really optimize your bench boost. I think that's the way to go about it. Long term, you might want this Arsenal defender back, and I think Gabriel would be the best one, but yeah, that's the problem with the bench boost sometimes. It can affect your planning a little bit, and in order to fully enhance the chip, you need squad depth, and you might not want it beyond Gameweek 19. Keane benching rumours. Well, I saw a rumour of him not starting, of him not playing at all. Yeah, I'm not sure where it's coming from though, but it does seem to be gaining traction. Okay, so another Everton page has posted that Keane and Alcaraz are not in the Everton squad. And it looks like Grealish is on the bench as well. Wait, let me check. So they're saying that Roll is set to start for Everton tonight as well. So yeah, good thing I haven't bought Keane. That would have been very frustrating. Yeah, Szoboszlai should return in my opinion. He's in my predicted lineup, which you saw just a couple of minutes ago. Play Savona or Anderson over Rice. Probably Savona. Good to see you, Philip. Buy Cherky or Szoboszlai. I'd buy Cherky. Good to see you, Tustapaki, as always. 0 transfers. Left, take hit, bring in Gordon, or hope for the best. I'd probably just stick with what you've got. It's not ideal. You've got Rice on the bench, and you're probably going to sell him maybe even tonight before the price changes. But I think Rice was actually projected to rise tonight. Now that might have changed a little bit. But yeah, I think just keep what you've got. It's not worth taking a hit. Yeah, Bruno Guimaraes is better than Enzo Fernandez in FPL right now. I think that's good. Should I transfer Rice out or wait? Plan was Enzo out, basically. I don't think Rice will play against Villa or Bournemouth, and some reports that are circulating indicate he could miss the next 2 weeks, but I'd probably sell Rice if you can. Not for a hit, though. A lot obviously depends on circumstances, because in certain situations, if you don't sell Rice for a hit, then you've got Alderete coming on, and instead you can buy Cunha. In that case, I'd take a hit for Cunha, for example, but everyone's situation is different. Yes, I think Cherky will play. Bench one of Virgil, O'Reilly, Timber, Hall, or maybe Wilson. From those players, I would probably bench, I think, Timber this week, yeah. I don't think Gordon will play 90 minutes. Well, I haven't seen the exact tweet or where things are kind of circulating from, but I'm just seeing different tweets coming out from, different Everton pages. So yeah, here we go soon for Antoine Semenyo. That's pretty much just confirming what we already knew now at this point. But I'm searching on Twitter now for Keane updates, but I don't see anything concrete, let's say, but it is gaining traction. And just in case, I am going to avoid Michael Keane. What I'll probably do for the sake of clarity is show you this tweet. So you can then decide what to do with it. But yeah, let's go to this one. So it's by EFC Home. So Merlin Rowe is set to start for Everton tonight. Keane, Alcaraz and Grealish remain a doubt. And then he posted a follow-up tweet saying Keane and Alcaraz are not in the Everton squad tonight and Grealish is on the bench. So make of that what you will. Rice to Cherki for a -4. I'd only do that if you have no decent bench cover. So even someone like Timber, Joachim Anderson, Wilson, I would just start them or have them play over Declan Rice if needed. I wouldn't necessarily take a hit for Cherki in certain situations. I don't have Gakpo in my starting 11, but he will get minutes for sure. And that will likely be as a substitute. Good to see you, Ahmad, again. My starting 11, Raya, Dalot captain, Dorgu, O'Reilly, Potts, Foden, Saka, Palmer, Cunha, Ekitike, Haaland, 3-5-2. Alderete on the bench, only worthy of mentioning, but Potts seems a better choice this game week. I agree. I think with both of them, you're looking at 2 points, and Alderete could get lower than that, depending on any bookings or conceding 2+ goals, which I think will happen, so I get that. There is definitely a case that with Defcon, Alderete could still shade it, but I think with both of them, it's not looking great. But the rest of your starting 11 is very promising, that's for sure. Thoughts on James? He has returned in the last 5 games he has played. He's showing real consistency. And I think in terms of timing, it's best to buy Chelsea defenders from Gameweek 22 onwards. But yeah, Reece James isn't a bad pick right now. He costs 5.7 million and he's got goal threat, assist potential, the odd game with Defcon, but mainly with bonus points. He is a bit of a machine for that this season. So look, he's a good pick, but I think in terms of timing, I'd still wait after the next 2 game weeks at least, because with that Man City one, for example, I'm not optimistic whatsoever. Palmer, Hall starting, yes, both of them should start. And if you have Cole Palmer in your FPL team, I definitely wouldn't bench him. Who do we think is on pens at Newcastle? Anthony Gordon. As we saw in the Champions League, Nick Voltemada is second in command when it comes to penalties. Thank you very much to JFT Gunner. Great work, Dylan. Cheers for the insights. Much appreciated. All the best of luck for Gameweek 19 and beyond. Enjoy the New Year festivities as well. Newcastle defence is really good this week on paper, but the past few games make me question if they can keep a clean sheet. I get that. Their underlying defensive numbers are very solid, but they look more consistent and reliable at the beginning of the season. And I think in the last couple of weeks, we have seen them either concede too many chances or just not keep the clean sheets in general. So I understand where you're coming from. Yo, Dylan, I want to bring Gabriel for Van der Ven, but I am 0.1 million short. How do I free up some money? Raya, Dubravka, Dorgu, Van der Ven, Alderete, Keane, Joachim Anderson, Foden, Saka, Cunha, Dewsbury Hall, Minter, Haaland, Thiago, Ekitike. What I'd probably do is Dewsbury Hall to Potts or Miley, or you downgrade Minter to one of those kind of budget midfielders I've talked about, but I'd rather sell Dewsbury Hall in this case. I'll be honest though, you've got a good squad in general, but my concern is you've got essentially 2 budget defenders in Alderete and Dorgu, and you've also got Dewsbury Hall, who is currently injured, and he might be back in a couple of weeks' time. I think he will miss the next 2 weeks at least. But yeah, looking at this, I would just be a bit careful, where if you get another injury or 2, you could be in a position where certain weeks look a bit tight in terms of fielding a competent starting 11. So I think the squad depth could do with a bit of improvement. But in order to get Gabriel and you really want him, I think Dewsbury Hall to one of Potts or Miley is the way to go. Cunha is third in my Campsy list. There's not really much more to say about that. I think Haaland and Ekitike are more reliable. But he's got the best fixture this week. There's no denying that. Cunha or Rodgers, who do I pick for long-term use? Long-term is Rodgers, but the timing is so awkward if you're buying him now against Arsenal away. Is Cucurella and Rice out for today, right? Rice, yes, according to the reports. With Cucurella, it's not guaranteed, but in my predicted Chelsea 11, I've got Gusto at left back and James on the right-hand side. I don't think Cucurella will start. Okay, it's time to go to my FPL squad. I think what I'm going to do now is make a transfer. So I think Dalot in for Matty Cash is the way to go. And that could also ensure I've got decent coverage just in case Timber misses out. But I would definitely start Dalot. There's no denying that. And I think Joachim Andersen would be first on my bench, Klein second. So that is the way I'm going to go, I think, this week. And it means once again, I am not rolling, which is not great. Who would have thought that my final transfer of 2025 could be Diogo Dalot? Hopefully he returns and then I'll feel better about it. But when you say out loud, it seems a bit crazy. Yeah, that is the way things can go sometimes. Okay, so let's get to 150 likes. We are very close towards that. Thank you to those that have done so already. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, click the hype button, share this video around with those that love FPL News Your Fantasy, and engage with the content even further by checking the links in the description. There's my Patreon and the championships, fair likes to my videos, and many other perks. There's also my Discord server, the FPL and FPL Challenge Leagues, and Spotify. Leave a 5-star review as well. It goes a long way to boosting us up on that algorithm too. And yeah. Let's go through member questions and make sure that everyone has been answered. And also big up to the Super Chatters and to Paredes for gifting another 5 memberships, and to Keith for gifting a membership as well. Kudos to Cherky, have the exact money? Yes, I would. Now, Minter doesn't look too shabby this week, but I would make that move. Aranya says, Timber surely out? Not necessarily. I don't think Timber is definitely out, but I think the chances are almost 50-50 at this point, but I would back him still to be in that lineup, because otherwise, what are Arsenal going to do? Because Ben White could make the squad, but is he going to be ready to start? Probably not. Declan Rice played right back last game. He's out. So then what do Arsenal do? I mean, it's not looking great for them. So yeah, interesting times are ahead for them. Maybe Norgard will play right back. Who even knows at this point? But I think Timber will start. As for Saka out, or I'm guessing you're saying surely out as in of my FPL team. I just brought him in. I mean, it's kind of annoying because Hincapié was yellow flagged, and that's why I sold him for Timber, and then Timber's the one who ended up missing out. But yeah, Saka, I think is worth keeping, but I understand why you might want to sell. And as for Timber, I still think he's a good option in the long term. Twisted Parky says, thanks, I might sell Rice, but I might keep and prioritize Gabriel. Who would you bench, Timber, Van de Ven, or Tavernier? Then need to decide captain, Cunha or Haaland. Interesting question. I'd probably bench Van de Ven from those 3. And if Timber misses out, you've got Van de Ven coming on, which isn't terrible, but I would back Brentford to score a goal or 2. Van de Ven or Anderson, Fulham, bench. I'd rather start Anderson, so Van de Ven is the one I would bench. Would have captain Bruno if fit. I agree with you. Exactly what you said. I echo those sentiments. Thank you, Keith. I appreciate your contributions as well. I covered the best free hit team a few times, mate, in the best wildcard squad video yesterday and twice throughout this stream, so be sure to rewind. Would you rather Raya or Verbruggen this week? Still Raya, but not by much. I think Hincapié will start, which was also talked about in the predicted lineup section earlier. Start Senesi or Anderson? I'd start Anderson this week. What happened to Rice? It's a knee issue that he sustained against Brighton, and he could be out for the next 2 weeks, but that hasn't been confirmed yet. Rice out for a -4. Depends who you're buying, but I think he's worth selling at this point. And on the bench boost, I understand why you'd want to take the hit. Rodgers, Wirtz or Gordon on free hit? I wouldn't go for Rodgers on the free hit, but long term, good option. He could be a great Declan Rice replacement, for example. I would pick Wirtz out of the 3. I have Altamont and Ekitike from those teams. Yeah, it looks like Rice is definitely out according to all these reports. Saliba, Virgil, or James, or someone else with 5.9 million. James is in the best form of the 3. To be fair, I'd probably pick James, I think, long term. You'd be very early on that train. But yeah, he's the one. For Arsenal, Gabriel and Timber, they're the best ways of covering their defence. I'm just going to lock in this transfer, cash to Dalot. What is this, man? Okay, let's bring in Dalot into the starting 11. Because, yeah, I don't want Klein anywhere near this. So let's sort this out. Klein, probably second on the bench. Anderson first. And Bob's your uncle. So that is my final Game Week 19 team, essentially. I'm going to put a quick poll out for the captaincy and then answer. Just in case, let me get this up. Let's bring up the transfer section in case we need to make another move. Okay. Aranya says, for bench boost, number 1, Saka and 2 NPCs out. Transfer 2 mids plus 1 defender, 18.4 million in the bank, like Cunha, Dallo, 5.8 million mid. Or number 2, Saka stays, Timber plus 2 out. Then transfer 2 defenders and 1 mid for 14.5 million. So in both situations, you would get a 5.8 million mid, which isn't ideal. Yeah. I would go for number 1 then, even though I like Saka still. And I would get Cunha, Dallo, and a 5.8 million mid. Which one? Based on current form, I think the likes of Reinders look quite promising, actually, but I think in a couple of weeks' time, once Doku is back, that could be a different story, and the minutes will be all over the place. But based on what you've said, and they're all well laid out, I think I'd go for number 1 there, Rania. Let me know what you prefer in the live chat, and I'm not going to deny it. For this week, I think Saka is better than Timber, or at least he's got a higher ceiling and a better chance of returning. But also thinking about the long term and the players you're bringing in, I'd pick number 1. Dylan, should I start Hincapié and Gabriel? No, I would start Semenyo over one of them. I'd bench Hincapié. Yeah, exactly that, Ahmad. And now we've literally got just a minute left. Good luck to you as well. Dallo captain. Fair enough. Hopefully he does return for both of us. That's all we can really hope for. But we've literally got seconds left until the deadline. Haaland's my captain, Ekitike vice, and yeah, the poll. Timber to Gabriel was the winner, Cash to Dallo was second, and Cash to Chow was third. But let's see what you lot vote for in terms of the captain. Who is your final captain of 2025? And yeah, that is it. We are locked indeed. So let's put the options. Cunha, Haaland, and let's see, Ekitike. They're the main ones. Well, we'll stick with those 3. I'll put the other option in 4th. Okay. So there we go, locked and loaded. And that was another enjoyable deadline stream, as usual. So big up to the community as well for all the support, not just this year, but also for the last 5 years, almost 6 years making content, by the way. Time does fly. I did start in January of 2020, and yeah, it's honestly unbelievable looking back on it. Another Dallo believer. I wouldn't say I'm a believer, but yeah, you've captained him, so let's just play along. Locked, yes indeed, Osman. Thank you, Surreal. Happy New Year to you as well. And all the best of luck to everyone watching, as you say. It's so sad to see 70% of people captaining Haaland. It is, but there are opportunities to go against him. We saw Foden outscore him in a couple of weeks recently. And last week I went for Ekitike. Only a 3-point gain, but a gain nonetheless. I don't know if Cunha captain was right choice. Well, in terms of this poll, yeah, Haaland 59%. Ekitike second with 20, and Cunha third with 18. But hopefully, people are rewarded for doing something a little bit different. Usually when you are bold with the captaincy or with a transfer and it doesn't pay off, it makes you just think, I might as well just be template all the time. And that's not the way you want to think with any fantasy football game, but I understand the thought process. I've had it myself several times. Last second change, Semenyo in for Hincapié bench. Thanks, Dylan. Locked in for 2025, boys and girls. Yes, for the final time, and I wish everyone here a green arrow. Enjoy the football and also the festivities with your family and loved ones. Hopefully you had a Merry Christmas and are going to enjoy the new year. So New Year's Eve is tomorrow, and after that we will be responsible going into January of 2026. Good luck as well, Sadindra. Rohit says, I made Bruno Guimaraes and Dallo for Richards and Rice. Great transfers in my opinion. Richards will probably be out against Fulham. Declan Rice, all the reports point towards him missing out against Aston Villa. And I think Dallo and Bruno Guimaraes look very solid, particularly Bruno Guimaraes in the long term. He was in my wildcard squad a couple of weeks ago. I only sold him to buy Ekitike, and I basically bought pots to fund that move. Dylan, my defense is absolutely cooked. Joachim Andersen, Dorgu, Van der Ven, Keane, Alderete. I understand why you're saying that. No Arsenal defense either, which probably won't be an issue. In the short term, they've got some tough fixtures, but you probably want a Gabriel fairly soon. I think for this week, Joachim Andersen, Dorgu, and, well, Keane, who apparently won't play, but that would look quite decent. And otherwise, you've got Van der Ven coming on, so that could be okay, actually. It might not look great on paper, but you might be pleasantly surprised by the outcome. 0.3 in the bank, 2 free transfers. I can free money by doing Raya to a cheaper goalkeeper, and then Thiago to Mark Gay. Wait, so when you say Thiago, who would you sell Thiago to? But yeah, long-term, Mark Gay is a decent option, and I think Palace will only improve once Munoz is back from injury. But I wouldn't prioritise Mark Gay just yet. Kerem says, hi Dylan, and Happy New Year. Thank you very much. The same goes to you. Happy New Year to everyone. I did Semenyo, Wilson, Senesi to Cunha, Gordon, Matson. I don't like the Matson pick, to be fair. There are some good fixtures after Arsenal away, but I just don't think Matson is the most reliable when it comes to minutes, even with DEFCON and a few other factors. I'm just not really that infused with it. But yeah, Wilson and Semenyo, they're good options, but right now Cunha and Gordon look more appealing, so I can definitely get behind those two moves, but not Senesi to Matson. The poll vote Haaland, but in their team captain Cunha. Maybe. I don't think too many people would have done that, but I can't speak for everyone. Cunha triple captain in my dad's and my team, but Haaland in the main team. Triple captain Cunha, wow. Well, hopefully he can do something for your dad's team, but yeah, Haaland in the main team. Standard stuff, kind of boring, but it is what it is, right? I got Cunha, but didn't captain him, looking at the United squad. I've got 2 United players, wow. I'm just deeping it right now. That is a recipe for disaster. We're here in Malaysia already the 31st of December. That is true. There are some viewers here who are already on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve? Oh, yeah, we're going back in time now. On New Year's Eve. So, yeah. Cylindra says, my free hit team thoughts. Alisson, Dorgu, Milenkovic, Hall, Gordon, Cherky, Wirtz, Palmer, Cunha, Ekitike, Haaland, captain. Yeah, you always want everyone to play, particularly when you activate a chip like the free hit. I'm not a massive fan of Alisson in general because he's injury prone, but on a free hit, I get it. I personally back Leeds to score, and I'll go through my scoreline predictions again. The same goes for FPL Challenge fairly soon, but yeah, most of those picks I talked about either yesterday in the Best Wildcard Team video when discussing the free hit, or today when I was on FPL.team. So I think a lot of them I can get behind, but Alisson is the main question mark I would have. Happy New Year to as well, Cylindra. Thank you very much. I did a gamble by transferring in Wirtz and captaining him. People said the same thing last week and they were rewarded, so hopefully the same happens for you. Free hit active, prepare for chaos. Yes. And by the way, for anyone who is activating the free hit this week, you cannot activate it in Gameweek 20 because with that chip, you can't use it in back-to-back weeks. So you have to wait until Gameweek 21 at the very earliest. I benched McAllister to Miley. I already can see the shot outside of the box. Well, that can happen, right? I think with both of those players, they're so unpredictable when it comes to goals and assists, so it can go either way. But I do back McAllister this week, actually, against Leeds, which is probably what you don't want to hear, but I can also be a jinx. I hope Dallo likes Lewis Potter a few weeks ago. That'd be asking for a lot, to be honest. I think Dorgu's more likely to get that sort of big return in that defensive line, but long-term, I think Dallo is the better pick. No suspension risk for this week as well, so unless he gets red-carded and then we cry about it, it should be absolutely fine, hopefully. Captain Cunha, going to watch Man City from behind the couch. Yeah, we're back to those days again. And for a while, I think with City we lost a bit of that fear factor, even though Haaland was still doing quite well last season, but it's a different story this time round. Keane news did destroy the plans. I was quite happy to buy Keane, and then in Gameweek 20, for example, I could do Klein to Dorgu. But now it's a little bit different. Yeah, Mount is not in the squad. That's why in my predicted lineup, because of the doubt anyway, I put Xerxes in there, so we'll see if he does start in the end. Wait, by Thiago to Gay, I meant the Chelsea 4.2 million striker. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, Mark Guiu. Don't worry about that. It can be confusing, you know. A lot of these are going to be like that. Keith says you should lock subscribers when New Year crosses to 2026, make it an exclusive club of 38k fans. Thanks for all the effort in the last 5 years. Thank you, Keith. Not a bad suggestion. I don't think it'll be very popular for everyone, but sometimes, yeah, you got to do what's best for business, as they say. But I appreciate you always tuning in, Keith. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and all the contributions you've made to the channel, the moderation, it's all massively appreciated. And hopefully you have a great 2026 and enjoy the rest of this calendar year with the New Year festivities. Arsenal win. I can't see City in the lead. Well, originally I went for an Arsenal 2-1 win, but after seeing the Rice news, I'll be honest, I changed my prediction. I don't think Arsenal will win. It's a massive blow, and we don't even know if Timber and Calafiori will start as well. We'll find out fairly soon, but yeah, it's not looking great right now. Look, Arsenal can still beat Aston Villa. They're missing several key players themselves, but they're a bogey team for the Gunners, and Arsenal need to find a way to get the job done and remain top going into 2026. Villa right now, like Thanos, collecting wins and 3 points from every team. Yes, but I do think it's unsustainable. They will drop down eventually, but I think they can get a result at the Emirates tonight. Hopefully they don't, but they've got a good chance. Villa early from losing a couple of games, now winning 11 matches in a row. They also struggled to score goals in that time frame, so things have changed very quickly, but I think they have overperformed a lot. And I think as we get deep into the season, they will fall off a little bit. They can still finish third and maybe even fourth, but yeah, I don't think they'll be in the top two. Let's put it that way. I think Semenyo will go down in price by tomorrow night. Definite transfer out. Yeah, and the rumours are only intensifying in terms of him going to Man City. I took Wirtz over Szoboszlai in my free hit team. I'd do the same thing. The only counter argument I'd have about that is that Szoboszlai is on penalties in the absence of Salah, but I prefer Wirtz in the short term. Yeah, Maatsen has started the last 5 games. I get that. He is first choice right now. I just don't really like him in terms of DEFCON. Even attacking threat, it will be more than most Villa defenders, but not enough to really justify, in my opinion, his inclusion, especially with Luka Dean still having the possibility of knocking him off his perch in the future. But yeah, 4.2 million, of course, is a good price tag, and instead of Dorgu, you're going for something a little bit different. Is Semenyo a sell tonight if he goes to City? Possibly, and we do have a very quick turnaround again, so you could argue that it's worth making transfers, but definitely don't do the transfer now. At least wait until tonight's games are done, and then you can start locking that in. But I went through the price changes earlier. I didn't remember seeing Semenyo as a potential price faller, but maybe I'm wrong. As a Chelsea fan with 70% out of the title race, hoping Villa win the title. I don't think Villa will win the title either. It's going to be either Arsenal or Man City. Hopefully it's the former. But yeah, in terms of Chelsea, they're not going to win it. I mean, the gap is already quite significant now. And I've kind of made my feelings clear on why I don't think Chelsea will win the title anyway for quite a few months. And they have this sort of pattern, right, where in December and going into the second half of the season, they kind of tail off a little bit. Okay, so let's go through a few different screens. I will show you my scoreline predictions. So I'll leave that on for a little bit and keep my, or I'll say get the lineups ready because they're going to be out in a couple of minutes for the 7:30 p.m. kickoffs. And I'll also go through FPL Challenge as well. Okay, so Burnley Newcastle as well. Forest Everton. Well, Jurgen Timber has posted. I mean, a lot of the players do, even when they do miss out. But yeah, hopefully he does start for the Gunners. Everton. And then West Ham, Brighton. But in terms of Arsenal Villa, we're not going to get any concrete news. That is a later kickoff at 8:15 p.m. in the UK. But for the other games happening tonight, I will have the lineups ready in just a few minutes' time. So West Ham and Brighton. Okay, so those are all set. And I'm going to go now to FPL Challenge, which isn't completely locked in right now, but I'd say one or two of these are up for debate, mainly Saka and my choice defender, but I will go for a United option, either Lamins in goal, Dalot in the defensive line, or Cunha in the midfield. But I've got Saka, Gordon, Ekitike, and Haaland captain, but I might do something like this. So Cunha in, and then maybe even Pickford for now, but that's something I could change a little bit as well. But yeah, if Keane is missing out, that is going to be a blow for the Toffees. Yeah, I think that looks just about right. Maybe instead of Gordon, I'll go for Saka, but I do want a Newcastle option. Maybe what I'll do is this. Saka in here, and I'm going to go for either Ramsdale or Pope in goal. That could also work fairly well. Yeah, not a bad team. So I made a few changes there on the cuff, as you can see. And let's see how this poll is going, because I did put one after the deadline. So Haaland has 61%, boring, but that's what I've gone for too. Cunha's in second with 23%, Ekitike third with 11%, and other only has 6%. To free up money, would you do Raya to Dubravka or Thiago to the 4.2 million Chelsea striker? I just need to see your team again, so let me just scroll up a little bit. Oh no, you only mentioned your defensive line. I would only do Raya to Dubravka if you have a reliable starting goalkeeper. Because if you have just a kind of bench option and you're going to start Dubravka every week, I just don't like that at all, despite his 11-pointer last week. Yeah, Palace are going to sign Brennan Johnson. Yeah, interesting bit of business there. I think Semenyo will start. And we're going to find out now, actually. The deadline... What, the deadline? The lineups are out any second now. Villa have secured Champions League next season. Well, I think they will make the Champions League, but they've also got the Europa League to contend with. Let's see how they do in the FA Cup, and that's only going to bring more strain to their squad. And as they get deep into the Europa League, and I think they've got a good chance of winning that under Unai Emery, I think they could have some problems in the Prem. And I've seen this pattern before with Emery, where he starts the season really well and then tails off towards the end. So, yeah, I think Villa will finish in the top four, but I don't think they'll challenge for the title, not until the end. We saw something similar happen as well 2 years ago, where people were talking about Villa contending for the title. They were like 2 points off the top, and they ended up falling away quite quickly. Heard PSG are going after Vitinha as well. What's this about? PSG are going for a player they already have. Is Anderson, Wilson, Anderson the correct bench order? I'd probably rank Wilson a bit higher than Anderson. But yeah, that is a very tricky one. Dylan, Dalot is our last wish for this year. We missed seeing Dalot's goal celebration, don't we? You could say that. If he can score a great goal like he did against Sheffield United a few years ago, I'd be a very happy man. PSR issues will limit Villa, else a good January might have helped them. Yeah, their squad depth is still not great. In certain positions, it's decent, of course. I'm surprised by where they are, considering the start to the season they had. I thought they'd finish top 7, top 8. But at the beginning, we thought they might struggle to even do that. And they've turned things around big time, but I also think they've massively overperformed recently. I bench Minter for Wilson. I'm feeling sick now. That's a very close one as well. I would lean towards Minter there, but that could go either way. Banked the free transfer, had Bruno G and Wilson both on 4 yellow cards, and the news of Michael Keane made things difficult. Not an ideal situation to be in, but Bruno Guimaraes is a very good long-term option, so even if he is suspended, you could just bench him next week, and Wilson is cheap enough where if he is suspended, you could maybe go another week without having to sell him. But if both of them get that suspension, that's where things get a bit problematic. I bought in before the deadline Dalot for Richards and benched Rice to play Dalot. Looks good. Looks good, Eddie. But I think Rice would still be a sell for you in Gameweek 20 unless we get a positive update after the game. Is Semenyo to Cherki and O'Reilly to Gabriel good moves? Cheers, mate. Yes, they are. I think they are good moves. I think this week, though, O'Reilly will probably outscore Gabriel. But long term, Gabriel's the best defender in the game for me. My prediction is 3-1 to Liverpool, so I do think they'll concede, and Calvert-Lewin is the most likely to get on the score sheet for Leeds. Eddie says my team is Raya, Gabriel, O'Reilly, Tarkowski, Dalot, Cunha, Foden, Grealish, Haaland, Ekitike, Bowen, with Dubravka, Rice, King, Mukiele on the bench. Looks really solid, and just to let you know, there is a chance Grealish doesn't play at all, so either King or Mukiele will come in for you. That's the only concern for me, but the rest is in good shape. I have Rodon and Rice out now and probably have to sell Semenyo. I guess I need to prioritize these. I want to bring in Gabriel or Gordon next, but I only have one free transfer and have a trio of Rice, Raya and Timber. Yeah, prioritizing will be very important, and that's where a hit might need to be taken. So you replace Rice first, you keep Semenyo, and then you can buy Gabriel, but you don't need to rush into Gabriel against Bournemouth away, as bad as they have been. So yeah, James not starting, Keane not in the squad, and Palmer starts. Good summaries there. I'm going to be going through them very soon. Dylan, what are your 2026 New Year's resolutions or goals? Yeah, great question. I think to keep growing the channel and finding a balance because, yeah, from January onwards, I will have a very busy schedule. I've got a new project, new work lined up, so it's going to be a challenge kind of balancing that and videos, but I'm going to try my very best to make that possible and just to keep on growing, learning as much as I can, and yeah, just keep reaching the next level. So I think that would be the main goal and resolution from my perspective anyway. Voltemada benched. Okay, that's surprising. We're getting a lot of weird benchings, but yeah, you've got Visser in there. Barnes can play on the left and Gordon up front. So with Voltemada, there was always that possibility, but I thought he'd start against Burnley. Do I like for like Gabriel for Timber or look to keep? Take a hit or try to roll for 1 week? Oh. I think Gabriel for Timber looks solid. The thing is, it is a bit sideways. If Timber's available tonight, I wouldn't really prioritize that. I think Rice would be the biggest priority to sell, then probably Semenyo, especially if he moves to City, and if he gets booked tonight, then even more so. Maybe Verbruggen is a shout for FPL Challenge. I think West Ham will score, but you could be onto something. My prediction is 2-2, so I'm not going to go for Verbruggen. A few weeks ago, though, I went for a Brian defender, and they kept the clean sheet, but the one I chose didn't play, and I forgot to change it. Gordon, Barnes, and Visser start, says Cylindra. Wait, Dylan, I know I've been a pain today, but I can share my squad one last time. Yeah, sure thing. No worries about that. Well, Unai Emery has an agenda against Arsenal because of the way he was treated and left. Get over it, man. He also didn't do a good job when he was there, let's be honest. Yeah, Pope starts. Okay, thanks for reminding me. So that means if I go to this FPO challenge, let's put in Pope. But I will confirm this by going to the lineups. Okay. So let's go through these one by one, starting off with Chelsea. So Sanchez, Achimpong, Chalobah, Fofana, Gusto, Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Esteval, Palmer, Garnacho, and Delap. So João Pedro is also on the bench. The same goes for Pedro Neto. A few surprises in there. And for Bournemouth, Petrovic, Troffer, Senesi, Brooks, Scott, Ivanoson, Tavernier, Clivert, Jimenez, Hill, and Semenyo. Let's now move on to Burnley. Dubravka, Walker, Esteve, Okachukwu, Edwards, Florentino, Chiwana, Ekdal, Perez, Broya, and Laurent. Newcastle have also rotated quite a bit here. They just reposted that one. Let's go here. So Pope, Hall, Cher, Joelinton, Tonali, Visser, Gordon, Barnes, Chow, Bruno Guimaraes, and Lewis Miley. We now got just a couple of teams left, starting with Nottingham Forest. John starts once again as a 4 million goalkeeper. Williams, Murillo, Hudson-Odoi, Anderson, Gibbs-White, Dominguez, Igor Jesus, Hutchinson, Milenkovic, and Sinchenko. And for Everton, quite a few absences, it seems, for the Toffees. So Pickford, Patterson, Tarkowski, O'Brien, Mikalenko, Garner, Irigbonum, Dibbling, Roll, McNeil, and Tierno Barry. For the final match between West Ham and Brighton, Areola, Walker-Peters, Todibo, Kilman, Scarles, Potts, Magassa, Fernandes, Paqueta, Bowen and Wilson. So that's a full house when it comes to my predictions for the Hammers. And last but not least is Brighton. So for Bruggen, Dunk, Van Heck, Minter, Welbeck, Milner, Kadioglu, Gomez, Ayari, De Kuyper, and Veltman. An interesting lineup there from Brighton and Hove Albion. So that's all been covered. And just to go to FPL Challenge one last time, I'll probably stick with something like this. Nick Pope facing his former club, Burnley away. Murillo as my only defender against Everton at home. Cunha facing his former club, Wolves at home. Saka up against Aston Villa. And then Haaland and Ekitike up front. Haaland, probably my captain, but maybe here I'll go for something a little bit different and captain one of Ekitike or Matheus Cunha. So thanks to everyone who has tuned in for the past couple of hours. It has been a blast talking to you. I'll read out a last few sets of messages and comments as we wrap up going into 2026 now, because this is the last deadline stream of the calendar year. So be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and also hit the notification bell so you're always up to date on my content, both FPL and UCL Fantasy. Stay tuned for even more videos going into 2026. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram and Blue Sky, Dylan RCM, and check all the links in the description for my Patreon and the Champships, furlags to my videos, proud spouter comments, amongst many other perks. My Discord server, the FPL and FPL Challenge Leagues, as well as Spotify can also be found in the description. And leave a 5-star review. It goes a long way to boosting us up even further. And all the member questions and super chats have been answered. So thanks to those that have sent in the questions as well. I got saved. Keane is out, sadly. No Voltemada. My bench is Xhaka and injuries. Yeah, it's kind of a mad one. I didn't expect a lot of these, but FPL can be full of surprises, right? And the one time I start backing Reece James, he's benched. So it goes to show you that sometimes you got to be careful with these things. Let's see where we were up to, because my chat did refresh. So we were up to... yeah, all of these updates. Pope starting, James on the bench. If there's one coach that made the team from losing a couple of games to winning a couple of games in a row, it's Unai Emery. Yeah, look, he's a good coach. I rated him quite highly before he joined Arsenal, but I just don't think he did a good job with the Gunners, just being completely honest. Yeah, Grealish benched. How do you think about Villa games without potentially the general midfielder Rice? It's difficult with Rice, and without him it's going to be even more challenging, but Arsenal still have enough quality to win the game, especially at home, with a fantastic record at the Emirates, and Arsenal need to find a way to win. It's as simple as that. 0 puts his squad, 0.3 in the bank, 2 free transfers. Raya, Dubravka, Dorgu, Van de Ven, Alderete, Keane, Joachim Andersen, Foden, Saka, Cunha, Minter, Dewsbury Hall, Ekitike, Haaland, Foden. So yeah, as we talked about before, maybe Dewsbury Hall downgraded to Potts or Miley will give you even more money in the bank, and you can use that to upgrade other areas, but I think the main concern is your defence, which could do with a bit more investment. So I think that would be the way I'd go about it. With your midfield and forward line, it looks solid for now. If Minter continues to blank or get rotated, then he is another potential sell. But with the rest, I'm quite happy with those picks. But that defence needs a bit of improvement. I forgot what I did with my team. When does the fantasy team show up? Right now it says game is updating. Well, usually 45 minutes after the deadline is locked in, it will update. So you're looking at 90 minutes, 20 minutes. Definitely by the hour, it will be updated. But that's usually the time frame we're talking about. Yeah, Punjabi, exactly that. Voltemada benched, Vissa starts. Dewsbury Hall is not starting. And I think he's going to be out for the next couple of weeks, actually. And that's what some of the Everton pages have been saying. Minter, Welbeck, Van Heck all start. If FPL didn't exist, what would you do? Well, still enjoy football. I'd still probably cover football in a different way. Instead of making videos on FPL and UCL Fantasy, I'd probably just make things about football in general. But yeah, there's more to life than football as well, and definitely more to life than FPL. I can tell you that right now. But yeah, I would still be here. Don't worry. I'd find another hobby or find another passion. But yeah, it is still something I'm very interested in, of course. My New Year resolution is not to be as bloody awful as I have been. Okay, that's not a bad one to have, to be fair. Not a bad one whatsoever. My FPL team can be awful at times. It has been for the last 3 weeks, but look, let's end it on a green arrow in 2025 and then go into 2026 with optimism and hope. Yay, Minter is starting. He could get a return against West Ham, but I also said that a few weeks ago when I bought him and he didn't. I can see the rant from FPL managers with the top players benched. Luckily for me so far, none of my players have been benched, but give it time. Thank you, Sudindra, and once again, Happy New Year. Take care and enjoy the time with your family and friends. And thank you, Wasing, as well. Wishing you a Happy New Year and have a great 2026. I can smell another rotation for tomorrow. Yes, but we'll get to that when the time comes. For now, let's enjoy the minimal rotations, hopefully, in our FPL squads, but I can't speak for everyone. Thank you, Zero. Happy New Year, Dylan. Hope you continue to grow and I get into a decent engineering college. I wish you the best with that goal and all your aspirations, and just enjoy the journey as well. And not just in FPL getting the green arrows, but also with, other things, your career path and everything that you want to do. So big up to you. I appreciate all the comments and, all the best of luck for 2026. Wrestling Gomar says, most of my players ain't even starting. Grealish, Keane and Neto. Very unfortunate there. Particularly with Keane and Neto, I was very confident both of them would start. They've been ever present in their lineups, but it looks like Keane has an injury and Pedro Neto is getting a bit of a rest, which he probably deserves, but the timing isn't great for your team. In terms of reaction streams, I'm not sure. I'll keep you updated on that, but it could be in 2026, actually. So it's very likely this is the last stream for FPL. I'll try to do a piece of content tomorrow. If it's possible, it will be done. But definitely before the Game Week 20 deadline, there will be more content in terms of videos and hopefully another stream on the way. Van Dijk Hall, I'm going to say no, but never say never. He has the potential with DEFCON, although he hasn't got it recently. He can get a clean sheet. There's the goal potential from set pieces. So Van Dijk is still decent, but at 5.9 million, he needs to do more. Rice and Ekatike last week for Thiago and Saka. -4 looks great this week. This move not. Well, that's what I mean, right? And I told you at the time that there's not much separating those two, but I like the players you brought in. Rice and Ekatike is what I'd go for on the wild card, and you've been very unfortunate with the Rice injury. He usually doesn't get problems like this, but I think this season he has missed the odd game here and there due to discomfort or illness, and it hasn't been great. For context, as bloody awful as I have been, I meant FPL. Yeah, I know. That's what I was referring to as well when you said FPL. I wasn't insinuating otherwise. DCL saved my ass as well last week. Yeah, Calvert-Lewin has been very impressive. I bought him for my mum's team. I wish I did it for my own one, but there you go. How were you in school, by the way, like your behavior and grades? I was well behaved pretty much in most classes, but there was one teacher who didn't like me, really. It was kind of funny looking back on it, particularly in sixth form, so just after secondary school. But yeah, grades were pretty good. The grading system is different now in England, but normally A's and B's and a few A stars in there. That was kind of what I did, but look, you can be academically smart or do really well there. That's only one part of life. But I did put a lot of effort into it, and yeah, I like to read and write, so that's why you get all these slander names and BS and all this stuff that people say, but there you go. Fireworks in the deadline, not that physical fireworks. True. The fireworks will come tomorrow, that's for sure. New year, new set, new graphics. Well, I keep on evolving with the graphics, for example, even midway through a season. I think just a couple of months ago, I started enhancing the graphics there as well to provide more variety and different elements of data analysis, and also to keep things fresh for the viewers. So yeah, it's always a process of improvement and finding new ways to engage people and grow the channel. Are you confident with that Sanchez clean sheet? I don't think Chelsea will keep a clean sheet, but the same goes for my backup goalkeeper in Dubravka. So yeah, 2-1 Chelsea is my prediction, and the answer to your question is probably no. I don't think they will keep one. I'm on wildcard 19, had Rice, but swapped to Neto after the news as a 1-week punt. Gets the bench, of course. Yeah, very unfortunate, to say the least. And FPL can be like that sometimes, where you make a good decision on paper, you're dealing with a problem like Declan Rice, and then in the end, the player that you're buying is benched. It happens, but Neto will start most games, to be fair. I hope no Van Dijk blanks. I need DCL points. Yeah, I think with that one, they could even haul in the same game or produce something, so Van Dijk gets DEFCON, and Calvert-Lewin gets a goal, but that streak will come to an end very soon, but hopefully not against Liverpool or the game after. Thank you, Zero. Sounds like you were academically very sound. Which college did you go to? Well, I went to university in London and I studied journalism, but yeah, I didn't go to college per se. I just went to a sixth form, which was essentially the same one as my secondary school, but it was part of a consortium. But yeah, let me not reveal too much, otherwise people will track me down and do some weird things. Happy New Year, Dylan. Let's hope we have a better 2026 part of FPL. Likewise, I echo your sentiments. Thank you very much for all the support and the moderation. It is genuinely appreciated, and I wish you all the best of luck for 2026 and beyond. New hair, new beard, new glasses. Relax a little bit. What are you going to say next? New face? Come on, calm down, man. Choose to back Ekitike again this week, hoping for a haul before he's subbed. He did score a brace against Leeds at Ellen Road a couple of weeks ago, so he definitely has it in his locker. I've gone for Haaland, which is kind of boring. Even if he blanks, I could be happy about it, depending on the context of the result. But yeah, we will see how it all pans out in the end. But Ekitike is second in my Campsy list, even above Cunha as well. Maybe we will see Mrs. Dillon next year. Yeah, possibly, yeah. Van Dijk will do a twerk defense mistake again. He's still one of the best defenders of his generation, but yeah, the twerking allegations are not going anywhere. Let's put it that way. Happy New Year as well. Thank you very much to Drigger. GG's, good luck, everyone. The same goes to you, mate, and to everyone else watching. Panicked at the last minute, went Senesi to Dallo for a -4. I probably wouldn't have done it for a hit, but still a good transfer in. And I think Dallo is an upgrade on Senesi in the short term. Can we have more direct comparisons of key players of that week? XG, XA, expected clean sheets, etc. Channel is in a real strong position. Yeah, that's a good suggestion, and I always incorporate that into deadline streams, but I particularly focus on one comparison. I think having a few more could be a good idea. Maybe even one in each position as well, but that's a good suggestion. I'll try to keep it on board, make a note of it as well. Thank you very much, Twisted Parky. Bought in Keane last night, so that forced me to the hit today. Very frustrating. I did point out the rumours of Keane missing out, just in case, but the source itself wasn't that known, so I couldn't really back if it was reliable or not, but I put out the information out there just in case. New intro, new meme, new background. Steady on, lad. If everything's new, then I won't be myself. But yeah, it's always good to change up a little bit and evolve, but I'm not going to change everything just because it's a new year. Imagine that, it's 11:59 in the UK and then it turns 12 and I just change everything. Like, calma. That Neville dribble pass record is a sham. Still impressive, but I can see why you say that. Still a good defender. Not better than, John Terry, Tony Adams and Vidic, in my opinion, but he is up there. Thank you, Zero. Bye-bye and see you next year, but hopefully it's not too far away. Interesting. I studied politics, culture, philosophy and history, and then military history, PG. That's a good set. For A-levels, I did English literature, history, Spanish, and geography, which is a strange mix, you could say. But yeah, I did 4 A-levels until the end, and they were all essay-based, so a lot of written work. Which all countries' military history do you know? There you go, Tistapaki. A nice question for you to answer because I know absolutely nothing about that topic. But thank you, everyone. It has been a blast talking to you. As I said before, like, subscribe, hype, share, all that good stuff. And I'll see you very soon for more content for Gameweek 20 and beyond. And for UCL Fantasy, Match Day 7 is up next. Take care, enjoy the football. I wish you all the best of luck for Gameweek 19 and the rest of the season. Have a happy new year and enjoy the festivities. I wish you all the best of luck going into 2026, and I'll see you very soon.